All right, what's going on, all my Lovecraft fans out there? Today is a day I've been waiting for all week, and that is the Lovecraft Country mid-season discussion, talking about our favorite moments, favorite episodes, favorite characters, and then we're, of course, going to talk about the theories, predictions, and everything to come for the second half of the season. But I couldn't do this alone. I got some special guests I'm going to bring here to the panel in a bit, but before I bring in these wonderful people, hey, how we doing today, guys? Happy Saturday. If you're tuning in for the very first time, do me a favor, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Helps out the algorithm, helps out the channel, but more importantly, it means a lot to me when you like the video, so definitely give this video a thumbs up. And if you're watching this live, comment below in the chat. We're doing this for you all because we love talking about this show. We break it down every week, and it's been such a fun journey. So I want to know what you all are thinking, your theories, your predictions, your questions for myself and the wonderful guests we have on here. And then for those watching the replay, do the same thing, like, share, comment your thoughts and all that fun stuff in the comment section. So with that being out of the way, like I said, I couldn't do this by myself. I got some Lovecraft Country fans, some great people that have a lot of great insight on the show. Starting off with someone, his channel called the Binge Zone, and I thought I watched a lot of TV, but this man puts me to shame because he watches everything and has such great takes. Talking about the one and only Shalon from the Binge Zone. What's going on, man?
I'm all right. Hey guys, Shalon from the Binge Zone here. Big Lovecraft fan. Welcome to the Movie Files live stream. We're going to be discussing everything Lovecraft. We're going to be diving into, like you said, theories, favorite characters, a whole bunch of stuff because this show has a lot to unpack. So I'm really excited to get this going.
No doubt, man. Hey, Shalon, if someone's been under a rock for, so many years and they don't know what your channel's all about, how about you tell a little bit about yourself and your channel and all that good stuff, man? The stage is yours.
Hey guys, my channel is the Binge Zone, in which I watch pretty much everything. We break down movies, TV shows, anime, short films, anything. We break it down. We have reviews, ending explains, reactions, all streaming services, theaters, pretty much anything. Any film that really captivates or is really a brilliant story, we break it down and we really get into it. So you guys should definitely check out the channel. It's on YouTube at the Binge Zone, and I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything as the Binge Zone. Like, we get into pretty much everything, as you can see from the posters and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it.
Hey, this guy, like he said, he covers TV shows, anime, covers everything, and he has a lot of great insight, does explainer videos, and just breaks it all down. So definitely show him some support and check out his YouTube and all his other social media accounts. Very excited to have him on. And our next guest here, I actually got the pleasure of being on a panel with her last month, and ever since then, I just love her content. She's a one half of an incredible show that I watch every Sunday, covering this show with Sharonda for Pay Your Weight. She's a journalist. She interviews a lot of great celebrities. She's a great person from the interactions I've had with her. I'm talking about the one and only KB. What's going on?
Hey, how are you? Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Again, you and Sharonda break this down every week on her channel. And I just love your insight. I love your takes on Atticus and, the baby mama stuff. You guys do such a great job of covering this on Sunday, as well as Sharon on his channel. So I'm so glad you're able to join us, Kay. But for those that might not be familiar with you, where can people find you? What are you all about? All that great stuff. The stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, as Elliot mentioned, I am an entertainment journalist. So I cover everything from top to bottom, TV, film, everything, pop culture. I love sci-fi. I've been getting into the horror space, which, Elliot from our previous panel knows that's not usually my jam, but there have been so many great kind of like horror shows and films coming out. So, oh my gosh, I love it. You guys can find me live every week with another co-host of mine, Yale Teagle, where we do all superhero things on Sundays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And so, this week we're covering The Boys. Season 2, episode 5 is really what we're doing. And that's on Fanversation, and it's called Super Lady Hero Hour. And other than that, my links are in my bio. As you can see below, I am on Instagram and Twitter at the Lady KB, TheLadyKayb. And you can find everything there, all the links to all of my work. I am on staff at The Beat, so I actually do a lot of coverage for them. And that's where all of my Lovecraft Country interviews with Misha Green, with Journey Smollett, with Jonathan Majors, and Michael K. Williams can be found there. So, yeah.
Awesome. So as you guys hear, they cover a lot of stuff. So definitely show them some support. Again, their links are in the bio. So their Instagrams, Twitters, their YouTube channels, definitely show them some support because they are some awesome people with a lot of great insights. So again, we got 17 people live in the chat. So again, guys, give this video a thumbs up, support these wonderful content creators. And this is going to be a lot of fun. So leave your questions in the chat and we will make sure to address them. And we got some people showing some love. We got people from South Carolina saying what's going on. We got hey, they're a big fan. We're big fans as well. Thank you for joining us. We got Daniela Wilson saying, "Hey guys, how we doing, Daniela?" It was like I follow. Hey, showing some love. We got some people showing some support from these wonderful people that we got on. Hey Kay, Lovecraft Podcast. Yes. Got a lot of fun people. So this is gonna be a fun time, guys. So again, make sure to drop your comments, your questions, your pros, your cons, all your theories in the chat, and we'll make sure to address them. So. Guys, Lovecraft Country. First question that I want to kind of pose to the panel as well as everyone in the chat, starting with Shalon. What is it, man? What is it that brings you back every week to cover this show, to talk about the show? What is it that's hooked you with this Lovecraft Country series?
What keeps me coming back? The fact that Lovecraft is a story. It's a supernatural sci-fi with cosmic horror looming in the background, but usually with those type of stories, it's usually relegated to, I'm just gonna say, white people and things like that. The fact that it's an all-black story and we're at the center stage, and we have not seen that like ever on TV. And the fact that it's not just that aspect, but it takes you from just the horror aspect. When you think of horror, you think of monsters, aliens, whatever, but most of the horror happening in the show is coming from other people. So like the monsters are almost like an after, like they're the less dangerous parts of the show. And every week I want to find out what exactly is going to happen next. Like how do they ratchet this up? And every week they ratchet up every episode. It's like it keeps outdoing itself every week.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And also to that last point, it's always a different genre, right? We get the road trip episode, we get the haunted house episode, the adventurous episode. More recently, we got the body horror, butterfly kind of, everything with Ruby. So that's another thing too that I definitely applaud this show is you get a new flavor every week. So same question to you, Kay. What is it that brings you back? What is it that you love about the show and all that good stuff?
Yeah, for me, I really keep coming back because I don't know what's going to happen next. And so I think that part of the appeal of the show is that we have no idea the direction that it's really going in. I feel like because every episode could really serve as a standalone. I mean, obviously there's an overarching theme, and that theme is really what is it about Atticus's legacy and how is that tied to magic? But I think because every episode really stands alone, you don't know where it's going. Like I have no idea what the finale is going to look like. I have no idea what Christina's main goal is. I just feel like every week I'm curious to get more pieces and get more layers. And so to Shalon's point, for it to just be rooted and centered on a Black family, I've said this many a time, I've never experienced watching a Black family that were huge bibliophiles. Like, I think that is so important to see on TV, and having that aspect is really refreshing. But they are a brilliant family who gets kind of pulled into the magic, and so I enjoy kind of seeing the layers and the depths of this kind of just, regular Black family that happens to have this kind of looming secret that occurs. So they still have all of their familial drama, but they also, have kind of these supernatural elements as well. And so I think the mix of both is just really interesting to see. And not only that, I think that Misha Green does a fantastic job of weaving in historical events for us. There are a lot of Black events and moments in time and prominent Black figures that Misha Green has really just kind of dropped into the show. And honestly, I don't know what context they'll play overall, but we know seen them pop up, but I just enjoy that so much. And it's just one of those shows where you actually really have to watch more than once in order to truly get the full experience.
Yes.
With every episode for sure.
I couldn't have said it better myself, what you guys just said in regards to number one. Again, it is not only refreshing as Perk Minded, which we got some more people in the chat saying what's up, but Perk Minded said it too. It's refreshing to see, this type of horror saying, we've seen the tropes before in horror films, and it's funny, black people dying first, whether it be a movie or a show, but knowing that this is the complete opposite, right? And we're following this black family and Atticus and Letty and Uncle George, RIP, and all the people from his family. So it is so refreshing to see this type of story being told in this manner. And also too, I found something that Journey Smollett said recently, or when the show was kind of getting started, and I couldn't agree with this more. It's just not as much about, it's more about the black joy and we're seeing families together, less than it is about the horror element of the show. So I think that is something too, a testament to say about not only are we seeing this for the first time in this type of manner on this platform of HBO, but it has something to say as well, not veering off the conversation, but a film like recently Antebellum. I don't know if you guys seen that film. I feel like that subject matter wasn't handled as well as I would have liked it to be handled. But I think a show like this has the time and really kind of builds its stories and its characters. And it's refreshing to say the least. So for me, and that's what brings me back every week, as well as like you guys, I love sci-fi, horror, drama, and all the stuff that we get in the show. So it just gives you everything plus more with these amazing characters, to say the least. But let's see, we got some other comments in here. Love and that's something also, the K that you mentioned in regards to the historical aspect of the show. One of the episodes that we'll talk about a little bit later, but like Emmett Till making his appearance on the show, and where is that going to go? And little Easter eggs like Martin Luther King dating a white woman and all that different stuff. And so it's just little things that makes the show just really cool and really unique, and it makes it authentic to its times. Love the characters, as Laura said, as well as Perk saying all they need to do for the future is stop playing modern. So what, just kind of, again, we'll get some more of these questions here, but just kind of curious, Kay, what's your thoughts on the music choice? Is this something that bothers you, takes you out of the scene? Do you find it entertaining? Just kind of overall thoughts of the choice of music in this show.
Yeah, so I feel like it's a kind of scene by scene, case by case basis for me. I actually don't mind the use of modern music in this particular show in some regards, but in some ways I know that it can be distracting for some viewers. Like for me, kind of one of my favorite scenes was actually when Journey's character, so Letty, when they're having the housewarming party, and obviously the neighbors have been doing this kind of mental warfare, in the sense that they have not stopped with blaring their horns, and making all of this noise to really kind of keep them off-centered, awake, ungrounded, and hopefully in their minds it'll make them leave. And so when Letty gets that baseball bat and she is bashing through the windows, and it's set to a really fantastic gospel song, I loved it, because to me, gospel music just within the Black community really represents us kind of rising to our highest selves. And I felt like in that scene, it was really like, Letty was taking back her power from these neighbors. So I love that.
Yeah. Yep.
In contrast, I didn't really love when we saw in the following episode 4, when Christina's in the car to Rihanna's.
Bitch better have my money.
Yes, I was like, this doesn't really work for me, but okay. Like, I love that Rihanna song, but I also was like, why is it here for this purpose? Yeah. But then I also really liked when we got the body horror and we got the Ruby centric episode. I liked when we were playing Cardi B. So I think it depends on the scene for me. Like I don't mind it in some regards, but that like, Rihanna with Christina, I was like, what? And also like, but.
Shalon's thoughts on the music choices, and if it's something that takes you out of the scene, or do you find it to be kind of more, modern and entertaining to a certain extent?
It doesn't really. The only one that really did take me out was the Christina scene, but that's just because of not the song itself. It's just my association of Christina, but the song, the music itself is like, if it's done correctly, you can use modern setting, and I like the fact that I think of it as a way to not alienate certain audience members who might not be in tune with certain song choices or soundtrack that's less modern. and it's a way that younger audiences who would get some of their lessons or learn something from the show, it keeps them coming back. So, and certain songs work, such as the Ruby and Bloody Shoes. Like
we'll get to
yeah. It works. It
brings
doesn't take me out. Like it depends. Like the Christina scene was like, really, this song, Christina, but overall, like it doesn't really take me out of it.
Yeah, and to you guys' point, I think, and also too, because all the music choices, like the songs I'm fine with. Sometimes, you know, it is like you said, the Christina scene with Rihanna, that kind of is like a little odd. But then again, you get the Ruby scene with the Bodak Yellow, and then you get earlier in that same episode with Ruby going to Marshall Fields and playing, you know, the other Carter B song, Money. So it kind of fits. It fits within the scene. But another theory, I don't know if you guys have read this theory too, and we'll talk about theories a little bit later, but in regards to somehow, some way, there might be some time travel element in the show where the modern music is coming from ramifications or consequences from messing with time. So we're actually hearing those songs within that time period because the lines have been blurred. I don't know if that's something you guys are on the fence about, something that could be a possibility.
So in terms of the music, I actually never really thought about that. I definitely think the show will tackle time travel. Like I think that is something that is going to happen. And, you know, after having some conversations just with some friends of mine, and one who is like a dear sister who joined us last week for our Lovecraft Country after show. You know, after talking to Joelle about that, I kind of do see, you know, kind of where the time travel would come in and play in. I didn't think about the music, though, being that way, because in a lot of ways, I guess I never think about music in terms of storyline, if that makes sense. Like a lot of times I'm not really thinking about how the music is actually tied into the storyline. So I never really thought about that. So honestly, I mean, like, you know, that's possible because I definitely think time travel is on its way, you know, maybe sooner than later. But I never really thought about the music actually tying into the storyline. So that's a really interesting concept for sure.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see if they do something like that. Because I think of another scene like Marilyn Manson, that one scene where we're getting Ruby and William, aka Christina, having sex for the first time, and they're playing Marilyn Manson's "I Put a Spell on You," kind of alluding to, you know, things that we are literally seeing on screen. But the music choice is definitely something that's been a hot topic for me when I've been covering, because some of the, like I said, some of the stuff has been kind of taking me out of the moments, but not as much. It doesn't deter my thoughts of the show. It's just kind of, like I said, something that comes to mind. But I love the story structure. You never know what to expect. Yeah, we definitely can all agree with that, as far as we don't know what to expect coming next with a show like this, which is great. It keeps you on your toes, which I love about shows. The music has been very well selected. Spent some time on a song, the spoken. That's another thing that I like. The spoken poems that we're getting throughout this show has been fantastic. Shalon, do you have any thoughts on some of these poems and how they kind of embrace the scene, but also so many layers and details within those poems? What do you guys think about those?
With the poems, it really pulls you into the messaging that's going on. For example, what was it, episode 2, when they're reciting Whitey on the Moon? When you go back and when you look into Whitey on the Moon and the story behind why it was written and what was happening at the time, like the fact that the poems, like the scene itself, it's a sci-fi thing. They're opening a portal somewhere else, and you see what they're using Tick to open the portal. But you can take that poem and all the other poems and spoken words that are being said throughout the show. It has some structure into the Black narrative, into the Black lives that were happening back then. And it correlates so well, and it really takes you and shows you that some of the things that are happening are timeless and settingless, if you will. Like depending on where you are in time, like we're still going through the same thing here that they were going back. The same things that were happening back then are still happening here. The fact that it's a sci-fi show and they're still not subjugating, but taking advantage of this Black family, it's still happening. All these, like it ties it all together. It shows that time and setting doesn't matter because the struggle is still the same and the messaging is still the same.
Totally agree. Kay, what have you taken away from these spoken poems and how impactful they are to the individual scenes that we see them in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that the poems are extraordinary. Like, I think they're a really nice touch. To your point, in terms of the Whitey's on the Moon, it's basically like the lines that they take from the poem at those exact moments are like the scenes are exhibiting basically what he's saying in that poem. So I loved it because I think that they're spot on. You know, and they bring, I feel like they elevate the episodes to a whole new level because we're getting some additional context, you know, from these actual poems that you are already set in history and in our files now, because I don't think that Whitey's on the Moon was actually written like during that time.
No, it was in the 70s.
Right.
70s.
Later. But I love that they take kind of, and all the poems are kind of different because some are actually from that time period, some are not. But I love that we get that kind of additional element and layer in the show. I do think it's intentional. And so I do feel like Misha Green is using every single minute and every single scene, you know, for a reason. So I say that now, which is wildly interesting. But then like 5 minutes ago, I was like, I don't know how the music plays into it. But now I'm like, oh, well, you know, I feel like she does things intentionally. She does, but I just never thought of the music in that way. But I definitely think the poems are being used in an intentional fashion. And hopefully will lead to this buildup that we don't see coming. Because I don't see it coming. So I don't.
Yeah, totally agree. Well said, guys. And then we got Laura here saying, I love how the show shows every Black people, what Black people go through. And you know, we still love, we have fun, and we have hope, and we stick together and keep surviving. That is really well said, Laura. And it's something I totally agree with. And I don't know if you guys have any insight on what Laura's saying here in regards to, again, showing we're not showing baby mama drama. We're not showing, you know, the negativity side of the Black community. We're showing, you know, that we have the same type of struggles that everyone goes through, but at the same time, how we overcome them, and then throwing us into this sci-fi element. I don't know if you guys have any more insight on what Laura's comments were there.
Oh, yeah, no, I understood why she chose it. I still just didn't like it. So like, I understood that, you know, she was going to collect because, you know, she had set everything up for Letty to literally take the worst house on the planet. And then here we are. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, we got moving on up was a fun one for sure. And then, so I guess another question, because some of these questions are definitely tied into one of the topics I have in regards to like Perk Minded, talking about the different horror genres and things of that nature. And like Kay, you were saying the different flavor of the week or not knowing what to expect next. So next question for the panel as well as everyone in the chat. This anthology style. Now, have you either one of you guys read the book by chance by Mark about Ruff? Me neither. So
I have it, but I do.
Okay, but from what I gather, I understand that each chapter is somewhat of an anthology and takes a different, you know, H.P. Lovecraft lore and puts its own spin to it. So curious, starting with Kay, how have you adapted to this? Because this is a different type of change of pace in regards to normal television, right? We're so used to just like one episode continues off the next and builds. And this show has done that to an extent, but we've gotten different type of scenarios. Like I think of episode 1 and 2, how so different, drastically different they've been, and from 3 to 4 and then 5 and so on. So starting with Kay, has this style worked for you in regards to this anthology? And just overall, do you like this kind of storytelling?
So I've seen similar storytelling before, not with a Black family at the center and not with like horror sci-fi elements. But, you know, I'm kind of like, I mean, I feel like, well, technically speaking, the Twilight Zone is kind of similar in the sense it's more traditional anthology because there's very little, you know, kind of that overarching theme. But there is another show that I watch, Why Women Kill, that is basically kind of like an anthology, but they're all connected and you don't really find out until the end. So I enjoyed this style because I think it just, and it's not for everyone, but I think it works for me and how my mind works. I actually like being able to see different facets in every episode. So I enjoy that. And in here, I also enjoy the fact that for someone like me, and I think that this is really smart on behalf of like Misha Green and HBO, someone like me who does not like a ton of horror can still watch the show and enjoy it.
Great point.
And so like, I knew just by reading the title of episode 3, Holy Ghost, that it was going to be a ghost story. Like I just knew from the title, like, okay, this is going to be a ghost story and this is probably not going to be my jam. Whereas like body horror doesn't bother me. So I knew with Strange Case, I would be fine, you know? So it's one of those things too, that I'm still interested. I'm still engaged, but I know which episodes are probably gonna be like, all right, girl, you might skip like, 30% of this because it's going to be too terrifying for you. But the rest of them, I know I can get through. So I think that that's a really good thing for an anthology series, is that, your audience is going to be varied, and their sense of comfort and, everything is going to be different, but everyone can watch and still enjoy.
That's a great point. Shalon, what's your thoughts on this kind of style and this approach to every episode being a different genre within a subgenre of the horror realm or sci-fi? And just, because Ken brings up a point from Mid-Level Media Reviews. He says that he's enjoying the show and the different genre switching, but I hope that there is some type of through line that pulls everything together. So kind of going off of that point, Shalon, what's your take on this different, same characters, similar, having somewhat of a through line, but throwing in a new mix every week?
I like it because if you think about old school television, right? It used to be Monster of the Week, new case, like for example, like the first few seasons of Supernatural, for example, there was one small through line of finding their dad, but every episode was a different Monster of the Week, different stuff to tackle. And it takes me back to like old school television, but in the sense, like I said earlier, it's with us. So it's something I haven't seen before. So the fact that every episode tackles a different aspect of us and things we haven't seen. For example, episode 4, was it Indiana Jones Goonies style? Like we don't see that. So like we get to jump between various genres within the same characters that we like, and we have emotion invested in them. So every week we get to. Next week it might be a time travel episode, but it's the same characters. Last week it was Indiana Jones, for example. Like I enjoy the fact that we're jumping to different styles, but with characters that we enjoy and we're following through with, and we are emotionally invested in, as opposed to one-off episodes with different people that we don't know.
You guys hit the nail on the head. I'm in the same camp with you guys. I actually like that. And like Kay said, I think that there is something for everyone, right? If you're a horror fan, you get those H.P. Lovecraft horror moments and creatures, and then also just the horror nature of racism and everything that was going through in the Jim Crow era. But then you have, like, Shalon was saying, the adventurous episode, the fun episode. I wouldn't say it's a family fun episode because there was still some, nudity and all this stuff, but it's a fun episode, right? And then for my body horror fans like myself, of The Fly, American Werewolf in London, seeing those transformation scenes, which, by the way, I don't know how you guys felt about those. I thought the CGI in the show has been incredible, the visual effects, but the shedding of the bodies and how each transformation was different, and how Ruby was kind of coming into her own, and you kind of see that within the transformation, was just incredibly done. And then, without getting into spoilers, because some of us have seen episode 6 is even different from the previous 5. So I actually like that we're getting different flavors. It's like going to a buffet. There's some food you like, some of them you don't, but it's just the experience. And I think by the end of episode 10, Misha Green, the writers, will pull everything together and get that through line that some people might not be getting from the show. But I think for the most part, they've been handling it pretty well. I've been enjoying the ride, to say the least. So before we drop into this next topic here, we got 36 people in the chat. Again, guys, check out all these contenters, their content in the description below once we're done with this live stream. Subscribe to their channels, follow them on Instagram and Twitter. As you all can see, they love Lovecraft Country, and they have a lot of great takes. So support them. Make sure to support this video by giving it a thumbs up, and continue to leave your comments in the chat. And let's have some great discussion. So the next thing I want to kind of bring to the table is characters. That's one thing that brings me back every week too. Atticus, Letty, again, RIP to Uncle George. And we'll talk about him later. I still think Uncle George is coming back some way, somehow, some form of fashion. But starting with Shalon, man, what are your favorite characters or favorite character? And then a little bit of reason why.
Okay. My favorite character for the first 2.5, 3 episodes was Letty. Letty by far. Journey steals every scene she's in. And her character, the way she's so headstrong, and she gets shit done. Like when something needs to be done, she gets shit done. If she has to run to the car, she's running to the car. If she has to knock out the Dell from the well to get Buddy out, she's gonna do that. But when we got introduced to Tick's father, initially, it's Michael K. Williams, great actor. But initially, from the stories we heard before he came on screen, I just imagined him being this terrible person, like this terrible human being. And even the very first time we see him on screen, he dug his way out of prison essentially.
Mhm.
And his response was when they came to help him, was like, after that, I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. And as the episodes go on and we start to peel the layers as to why he's the way he is, and I start to feel more sympathetic for him, he became my favorite character, especially after the last episode when he had the epiphany, the coming out moment, if you will. And that is if you guys pay attention, that is the first time we ever saw him smile in the first 5 episodes when he was in the ballroom. And I think episode 4, when he was going through it, having his PTSD moments, you could hear the voice of his father catching him with a flower in his head as he was prancing around in front of a mirror. And now we see why he's the way he is. And even though he has his own fucked up methods, it's like he's doing this to protect them. Like they don't understand. Like he knows the abuse of the world, if you will, for being who you are and just trying to survive. So he's doing all of this, and he's doing it for the betterment of them all, even though he doesn't talk nice about it or he doesn't coddle them per se. And he'll take the steps that need to be taken. Even though I was pissed that he killed Yahima, like he felt that it was a necessary evil. Like I've been taking this beating from my dad, from the world. I'm gonna take this beating from my son to protect you guys because I can take it, because I've been taking it. And I'm just like, damn, like he inched, like right now it's between him and Letty. Next episode's gonna really be the tiebreaker for me. But like right there between the two of them.
Yeah, no, that's so well said, man, Shalon. Michael K. Williams, as we all know, fantastic actor, and that goes to his acting. Where you just mentioned episode 5, I think he only said like 1 or 2 words, and everything was in the eyes and the emotions, and like you said, him coming out, having that metamorphosis, as that whole episode theme was incredibly told, and also again going back to just the Black community. Being gay in the Black community, especially during those times, 50s, were incredibly not only tough and a difficult thing to task, but it was dangerous, you know? So it's Michael K. Williams. I can't say more about Montrose.
One more thing to add to that.
Yeah, shoot for it, man.
When you speak of the danger, right? He's in a society where he's a Black man, right? So he's automatically ostracized and looked down upon by all non-Black people. So now within his own community, being a gay man would be double the oppression of being gay to the white community. Is already back then was already frowned upon. He's white, and now his own people, he can't turn to them. And we understand, and it's like his life, he could never truly be free until last episode. Like he could, like he had to. The only person I feel like that knew about his struggle was George, because George talked about before George died how he used to paint, used to draw, used to like George took a lot for him, but like even George didn't protect him from their father. So his existence is a danger to him at this period. Yeah.
That's well said, man. Well said. What about you, Kay, in regards to just a little bit of thoughts of Montrose, and then also, you know, going into your favorite character and a little bit of reason why?
Yeah. So I think Montrose is a really complex character. Definitely not my favorite. But definitely struggling. I mean, you know, Montrose's kind of metamorphosis and transformation was a long time coming, but I still think he has a lot of soul work to do, like a lot of healing to do, just among his family, and a lot of conversations that need to happen between, you know, kind of him and his son. I do appreciate that, you know, he was able to kind of finally come to terms with who he is. I don't like that was kind of after he murdered Yahima. Like I don't like I'm hoping that pays off in other ways, and I don't know what the writers will do with that, but I do think it's not a very good scenario for him to have murdered Yahima and then to find kind of his freedom and his peace in a you know, in ballroom culture. Like I just feel like that entire thing was like really, really, it's muddy. It's almost muddy.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But I am still excited to see, you know, kind of where Montrose's character goes, because, you know, to Shalon's point, like Montrose is so incredibly like complicated that you can't help but wonder what's next. And so, you know, generally speaking, he is kind of a man of few words over the entire series, not just that episode. I mean, he really doesn't say that much. His actions are always doing the talking for him. And those actions are always so harsh and so abrasive. And, you know, they really have impacted Montrose and Tick in ways that they haven't even began to settle up on yet. So I am hoping that we see that. But my favorite character is Ruby, and I knew that very early on. So in the very first episode, when we see Ruby singing, I was like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
who is this actress? Because this voice is incredible, like, and she just had so much heart. But I also just really appreciated from the moment that Letty comes back that she doesn't let Letty get off on things easy, because I feel like, she helps her, but she's also like, girl, okay, I am your older sister. I will help you, but you need to grow up and you need to figure out what it is that you're going to do with your life. And, you cannot come blowing through town saying, I'm going to live with you and I'm going to do this. Like, you cannot think that your life is more important than everyone else's, and that you can just come in and disrupt everyone like a bit of a tornado and just kind of do what you want to do and then move on. So I like that she's very honest and she's very transparent with Letty, and she may be hard on her, but I think that's for good reason, because historically, speaking, they just haven't had the best. So obviously when episode 5 came, which episode 5 is not my favorite episode of the series, but it's probably in my top 3 for sure, because it really centered on Ruby's metamorphosis. And I just feel like she's had such a hard time. She ends up living in this murder house after she thinks that their mom left an inheritance to Letty and not her. And now she's in this murder house, which is, too much. She leaves. She's still fraught. Her relationship with her sister is still on the fritz. But I feel like everything that Christina does is intentional. And I think it's very intentional that, she cornered Ruby as William when Ruby and Letty are on the outs, essentially. They have time talking, like, you don't see them interact at all. And yet here comes Christina William, like, kind of right on time, right on cue, and then offering Ruby a piece of magic, offering her, more than that job. Really what William was offering was way more than that job, but that's kind of what Ruby took from it. And then when Ruby realizes it was so much more, it kind of unlocks this magical prowess that she never really understood. So I'm wildly curious to see kind of where Ruby goes from here, because I guess technically speaking, Ruby is the only person that Christina William has been completely transparent about magic with, and has shown, like, actually physically shown a piece of what can happen and what they can do. So I am just curious. I mean, I think that Wumi, who plays Ruby, is a fantastic actress. I think she goes toe to toe with Journey, whenever they have scenes together. I just, I want them to be on the same side naturally, like they're sisters. They're two Black women. Like, Ruby, don't sell your soul to Christina, honey. So, you already did though. So I mean, like, so here we are.
You did, make a deal with the devil, she says in a strange case. But yeah, Wumi Mushaku, you said it, you hit it right on the head, Kay. She is fantastic. I've been a fan of hers for a while, seeing her pop up on little things, the In and Effing World and different TV shows and movies she's in. And I was so happy that she got a time to shine in last week's episode. And it kind of goes into, and this is just a much larger conversation in regards to when women write women. And I think the way Misha Green, the writers, have wrote not only Ruby, but Letty, who's my favorite character, by the way. I love Letty. I think Journey Smollett as Letty, especially episode 3, the haunted house episode, that moment in the basement, like, when you have the Oscars and they show like the scene that makes them nominated for, like, the scene in the basement is my like Emmy nominated Journey Smollett scene, and I think she just kind of locked it in the bag in that scene. That's like one of my favorite moments of the show, which we'll get in here in a little bit as far as favorite moments. But I think the women in the show are incredibly empowering. I think they're so well written. They're so complex, and not only the women, but all the characters in the show are so complex. There really isn't like necessarily, I guess we can say Christina is a traditional antagonist to a certain extent, but at the same time, she's helped our characters in bad moments. And then we have our lead, like Tick, great guy, he's a hero, but he has a dark past that you guys will see in episode 6. So I love how this complex these characters are. And that's what I love about TV shows like this, is there's no white and black. There's a lot of gray characters. We don't know their motivations, their past, and things that haunt them. So I love just the breakdown of these characters and how deep this show has kind of getting into their heads, and all the stuff that we got so far. So
Well, I will say
go ahead, Kay.
a bit to the fact that like life is not black or white. Like human
Mhm.
beings are not inherently all good or all bad in most cases, you know, and so I think that there are layers to every single person. So I appreciate that. Misha is honestly just writing an authentic story because there are going to be hard choices that every single human being has to make. She's
Yes.
alluding to those, you know, there are going to be repercussions for those choices that, you know, we choose to make as we delve into this path of life. So I think that to your point, yeah, she does like a fantastic job of being able to write it. But I will say it is a huge difference when women write women and also when women direct women. And I just feel like, you know, even when Ruby is having sex with William, it's still centered in a way that is not gazy, if that makes sense. Like it's still a very well done scene, and it's nice for Ruby to be desired in that way by someone. I mean, obviously we don't know where it's going after that, but just in that moment you're watching it and you're thinking, oh, it's nice to see a Black woman who actually looks like a Black woman, you know, just be like she just is loved on, and it's nice to see that. So yeah.
100%. And I'm gonna get to the chat here because you guys are putting in some great stuff. We talked a little bit about the anthology series and the different stories, and definitely refreshing to kind of see that. I love how different the vibes are, and you know, it's not necessarily a filler episode, which I totally agree with you all there. I feel like every episode kind of is its own self-contained story. Completely agree. I love horror. It's not too much. I love the different genres or storylines. What else do we have here? We have the transformations were bomb. Yeah, it was incredible. Ruby's Caucasian face fell down on her back, almost like it was symbolizing two-faced. Yeah, really well said there. Very, very, very agree with that there. Let's see. I like his review. What else do we have here? All right. So yeah, you guys are again continuing the conversation, guys. Let us know some of your favorite characters. I'm trying to see where as we see some Shalon breaking it down in regards to our conversation with favorite characters in Montrose and all that good stuff. Let's see here. I think Ruby is way deep now. Also, I don't think Ruby will be able to enter Letty's house because she is now evil. Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting to see if she kind of walks up to that door and ain't able to walk in.
I don't know. I don't necessarily view her as evil, though.
Yeah.
So you know, it's real interesting because I don't know. Yeah, I don't think she's evil. I think she made a choice.
No, I agree. We talking about here with fair point. I think Christina Williams is more open and honest with Ruby by far compared to 100%. I think that is a little bit of column A and column B, meaning that she's still manipulating Ruby to her own purpose, but at the same time, there may be something there that we'll talk about later. Ruby and Christina may be having something to explore in future episodes. So again, guys, before we jump to the next topic, we got 43 people in chat. Thank you guys for taking the time to join us in this Lovecraft Country live discussion. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. More importantly, Shalon on the Binge Zone, KB on Instagram and Twitter and all the different platforms that she's on. Support these content creators because, as you all can see, they're fantastic. They know what they're talking about. They love breaking stuff down. So definitely show them some support. And again, continue your comments. And if you're watching us on the replay, comment below. Let's have some discussions, guys. So as we kind of move on, you kind of alluded to it a little bit there, Kay, regarding favorite episode. So that brings me to this question: favorite moment so far, and also favorite episode. Starting with Kay in regards to what has been your favorite, maybe top 3 moments, but also your favorite episode thus far.
So my favorite episode thus far is episode 4, A History of Violence. I really, really love. I mean, apart from Yahima's murder, apart from that, I thought it was a really well done episode. I mean, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is actually one of my favorites. Like, I just love the adventurous aspects of it. And so I really thought that this was like a Black Pirates of the Caribbean meets Black Skulls with all the secret society-ish happening. Plus like Night at the Museum. Like, I just felt like it was giving me like so many different and then also it reminded me of the Nicolas Cage one. What's the Nicolas Cage
National
movie?
Treasure?
National Treasure, yeah.
I mean, like a Black national treasure.
Yeah.
So I loved that episode. I mean, I think that It's been so challenging watching Tick and Letty at times, but in this particular episode, Letty is like standing her ground and she's like, I don't know how many times I have to tell you that you are not the only person going through this, but let me put one more time. And I think that her standing her ground and her actually being like, I mean, because to be frank, they are in this together, but she's the only one that's died for it. So I'm like, actually, she is the one that's like, she lost her life for this. So I think that like Atticus needs to pull it together. So yes, that episode by far my favorite. I'd say, it's really hard for me to narrow down top 3 moments, but I mentioned this before. Letty taking back her powers from the white neighbors with the gospel music in the background. My top favorite scene. I mean, I just thought it was so well done. Another scene I really, really, really enjoyed was episode 5. And, when Ruby goes back to the office to the boss and she gives him what he deserves.
Right?
Meaning to the word high heel shoes. So yes, that moment definitely another fave. And I'm trying to think of what I would consider my third one. That's really, really hard. I do have an affinity for the very, very first episode when the monsters come up. And so they're in the house and the police officer is like, you need to keep your gun on the Black people. And I'm looking at him like, sir, I know like, into a zombie in front of your eyes and you're still concerned with the Black people in the room. So like, I actually love that scene because it was just so ridiculous, but also that's how racism works. Like, I mean, concerned that the Black people are truly the issue. Meanwhile, you got this monster with 3 million eyes that can turn people into zombies, and you don't even care. You're like, okay, but the Black people are actually the real threat.
They're the threat, right? Yeah.
So yeah, that would probably round out my top 3.
Love it. Shalon, what about you, my friend, in regards to favorite episode and just some moments that stood out for you for the mid-season point thus far?
My favorite episode, it's a tough one, but I'm going to go to episode 1. Like, episode 1 set the bar for the show. And every episode, I've struggled between every episode and episode 1, but I find myself always thinking about episode 1. So I have to go to episode 1, mainly because it was very eye-opening, right? It pretty much opened our eyes to what the show is going to be about. It set the tone. We meet our protagonists. They go on their adventure, and that's pretty much the catalyst. But it's also setting the stage for this is 1955. Like there is no going to the cops or looking for help for anything. Like they're gonna have to deal with this on their own. And by the end of the episode, it was them coming together with George with the flashlight, Letty running to the car. All of them working in unison, and throughout every other episode, it's when they come together and work together, they overcome, and it also set the tone of the monsters. Like you have, like Kate just said, you have monsters with a bazillion eyes on them, right? And the cops are more worried about the Black people. So at this point, they're in the cabin, and for the most, they weren't safe, but the imminent danger was in the cabin with them, and it's like. Okay, so this set the bar for that show. So I keep going back to episode 1, and it just, as a first episode, anyone who's watched Lovecraft, once you watch the first episode, it automatically hooks you into wanting to see where it goes next. When it comes to favorite moments, one of my favorite moments would have to be in episode 1 when Letty overhears the guy calling the people. And she just fucking hauls ass. We gotta go. And then, as they're running, George is such an older Black man. Like he's taking candy before he leaves, right?
Like, sir, if you don't get this car, like, why is your concern with candy? We have to know they are going to come for us. George is like, well, I didn't eat, and I was planning on eating.
Right?
low blood pressure, low blood sugar. Yeah, gotta get some candy in there. Yeah.
Let's see. My second moment would have to be episode 3 in the basement with the chanting and Journey's transformation, because I'm Haitian and I understood everything she was saying because they were talking Creole, so I understood everything, and it translates so it resonated with me. So that really stood out. In Journey's performance, like you said, Oscar reels, you show that one scene, like how can she not get an Emmy, right? At this point. And then a third one is random, but I was drinking water and I just spit out my water because it was so random. It was episode 4 when the bridge was deteriorating and they jumped into that door and they just survived. And Montrose says, Jesse Owens ain't got shit on me. And I'm like, sir, mister, that was so random. Like, I got what he was trying to say. I'm like, you could barely climb down the rope like 20 minutes ago, and now
right. All of a sudden, you're better than Jesse Owens. But
Right.
You were trying to get down this rope. Hold on, y'all.
That's a good one. That was a hilarious. I'm right there with you, Shalon. I was rolling when I saw that scene. That was awesome. So some great moments there. Some really great episodes you guys called out. I actually did a fun little video earlier this week. If you guys want to check it out after this live stream, I did my top 5 moments of the show so far. So check out that video when you guys get a chance. But some of those that they mentioned definitely made my list. But as far as favorite episode, it's a tie for me right now with episode 1. Very much so, like Shalon was saying, it set the tone. And going back to my horror, love for horror, the last 15 minutes, we're in the woods. We got monsters picking off people one by one. We're in a cabin. We're running to get the car. And I love that Letty she's running. She ain't looking back. She ain't tripping over, again, going to horror trope, tripping over branches and looking back and walking on their hand. Like, no, she's jetting to that car. And then also the moment when Uncle George's like, I think you need to shoot him. Like, I love that moment. That's and in episode 5 for me, I just love the stuff, the metamorphosis stuff. And Ruby, again, William Mushaku and Jurdy Smollett, their performance in episode 3 and episode 5 are 2 of my favorite moments from those 2 characters, and the implications of, again, the relationship between Ruby and now William Christina, and implications of, as I mentioned in my review for that episode, who else might have had these abilities of that potion. I'm still a firm believer that even though that the Paul, I think was the manager's name, he still has that vial. He picked up that perfume and didn't give it back to Letty. So I don't know if he'll come back in the season or if there's a season 2, and that's something looking forward to. But I wonder who else might be an imposter or using someone else's skin to pose himself as a character in the future, maybe Samuel or what have you. So that is I love that episode for sure. So a lot of great moments, a lot of great stuff that we're getting from the show, which I just love every single week. So we got some interesting questions, which we will answer that question a little bit later, because I'm gonna have a section or a topic in regards to predictions and theories. So we'll make sure to get to you guys' questions regarding fan theories and all that fun stuff. Episode 1 and 2 felt like a movie. Let's see here. I totally agree. Every episode feel like so cinematic. It's so incredible to me how one episode we get so much character development, so many arcs within an hour episode. It takes some shows 3 to 4 episodes to develop characters, to develop situations, but we get one full kind of encapsulated episode within each one, which I totally love. She said here, you need to shoot him. I love that moment. And Uncle George again, R.I.P. to Uncle George. But Montro's lines were funny. Definitely agree with you there. So guys, you got some great comments, and keep the comments coming. And again, pretty soon, maybe in about 10 minutes, submit your questions in the chat, guys, in regards to unanswered questions, theories, and all that great stuff that you guys want to pose to the panel. So we've talked about a lot of the positive stuff, which again, we all seem to really love the show, having a great time with it. But I'm just kind of curious on you guys' thoughts on maybe some of the criticisms, maybe some of the things that aren't really working for you so far in the 5 episodes, maybe some things, some glaring holes within the show, lack of understanding certain things for where the show's headed, just kind of what's not working. Starting with Shalon, is there something that's glaring to you with this show and makes you a little nervous for the second half?
My biggest thing, someone brought it up earlier in the comments, it was the thorough line between the episodes, because I'm trying to understand what is the end point or the end goal, because I'm loving every episode, but the narrative line between each episode, I'm trying to figure out where they're going, if you will. And I feel like it's like I love the stories that we're getting in every episode. I love it all, but at the same time, it feels almost more anthology as opposed to a structured storyline. And I love the anthology storylines, but for example, like one episode ends, the following episode really picks up on a whole new story, even though they mentioned some of the things of previous episodes, like more cohesion, if you will. That's the word, cohesion between the storylines. Hopefully, but again, by the second half, it may all tie in together. And this may be just me just talking, but like so far, I'm like, I want to see where we're going.
No doubt. No, I totally agree with you. In regards to also, like, I think from episode 2 where we get the reveal of Uncle George dying, and then episode 3, it's like, I think Tick or Hippolyta said that it might have been 3 weeks that had happened. So like, what happened in the last 3 weeks, you know? And to me, and I'd love to get your thoughts on the K in regards to things that's not working, but for me, like, for example, I think the show hasn't really addressed a lot of the consequences from their actions in the first couple episodes. Like, literally, there are 3 cops that are dead, that are missing, that there is, no consequences for that whatsoever, as well as Yahima. We talked about it earlier with Montrose killing Yahima. What did he do with the body? I mean, we'll talk about, maybe predictions later, but I just feel like the show hasn't really addressed, like, we're in the 50s still, and there are people coming up missing. There's police officers coming up missing, and there seems to be no particular consequences for the actions of some of our the characters' decisions. So that's some things that stick out to me. And there's a couple others that I'll bring up. But Kay, what are some things that really haven't set well with you and makes you kind of nervous about the second half of the season?
So you actually took what I was going to say, the consequences. So not just the police officers from episode 1, but Letty's neighbors are also dead, and they are in the basement, and we literally have seen no consequences. Where I think that's one piece that's wildly unrealistic, only because these are her neighbors. They are the only Black people on the block. For sure, when those neighbors went missing, the cops would have been at their door the next day. It's the most, I mean, like, that would have happened, no matter what the scenario.
Yeah.
Definitely would have happened since the cops had just come to pick them up, like days before. So I'm like, I don't know, like, and maybe we will see it and maybe it'll pay off a little bit later. But I just that piece, I was like, I don't know, y'all, like, the cops stayed in her neighborhood, I mean, these neighbors called the cops on them 24/7. So why, now that people are dead and missing, that piece is lacking? Another thing, and this is a small detail, and I have no idea what's going to happen with it, but in episode 5, when Ruby has to dress like the maid and go to the dinner party and I believe he's the police chief, at the police chief's home, whatever we were, the captain,
Lancaster, yeah.
He was at the captain's home.
Yeah.
He has Black skin, like, woven onto him.
On his torso, yeah.
And I'm like, I need to know how this is going to pay off. Like, I understand the symbolism. Well, I understand the symbolism from a historical context. But because we haven't really seen much with him outside of, him interrogating and beating Journey in the back of the police van and letting her know about the spirits and the bodies. And then we know that, he has a connection to Hiram, who owned the house and also was doing all of these experimental treatments on, those Black individuals who ended up being the spirits who were trapped in the house. But there has to be something more, and I'm kind of nervous about where it's going. So it's not necessarily a criticism. I just don't know. But I feel like if we don't come back to that, that's going to be huge, because I feel like, they dropped it in there, and you're intrigued me. I'm intrigued by where you're going, but I'm not entirely sure. So if that doesn't pay off, I think that's what kind of, worries me a little. Like, okay, we gonna see this pay off, because you dropped it in, so I kind of need to see a return on that investment. But outside of those two things, I'm fine with the anthology portion of it. I'm fine with that. I just also wish we would get a little bit more of an inkling as to what Christina's overall goal is. Because honestly, right now, she just feels like a threatening white woman, which in and of itself is horror, right? I mean, like, ultimately, Christina represents the most terrifying types of white women, right? The kind who are my suffering is your suffering, girl. Like, when she told Ruby that, Ruby was like, girl, stop. Like, yes, you are not allowed in the boys club, but you have no idea what it's like to be Black. Like, you gotta stop that. But she really thinks that the struggles are the same. So she is the most terrifying type white woman because she's doing things because she really thinks like, no, my experience is just, she almost feels like she's not privileged. Like, in a lot of ways, Christina feels like she doesn't have any privilege. And so that's terrifying. But also, what is the point? So we know that like she has outsmarted her father and got him killed, right? By like making him, take off his spell so that he could go to Eden and, get that. And she knew that that would fail and he would die, which is what she wanted. But ultimately, what else does she need? I mean, like, truly, what else is the goal? So I wish they would like drop little hints along the way. Like, we see her playing people like, chess pieces, but we don't know why. And so I guess I just kind of feel like, what is your ultimate goal? But
yeah, no, I'm right there with you, Kay, in regards to, and again, as we discussed earlier in the stream, the anthology is really refreshing. It's really fun, but it does make me a little nervous that since every episode is so drastically different and throws in new elements that we may not get some of those questions answered. Hopefully I'm wrong. But we got 4 episodes left to kind of answer those questions, but it is a little nerve wracking that, they might not address certain things. And I don't know if there's been any inklings or announcements that we're getting in a season 2, which, if that's the case, then you would assume that some things will be answered, but it does make me a little nervous that some things may not be addressed. But in Misha Green and in these creators, I trust in. But yeah, I think, there are more positives than negatives. At the end of the day, there are, like you guys just mentioned, there are some, I wouldn't say there's any plot holes for me, because I think, like you mentioned, Kay, there's just things that haven't been answered yet, and we're still giving them the benefit of the doubt that we're going to get those answers. But like you said, I think one of the biggest things is the glaring hole with not consequences to our characters, especially, again, the Jim Crow era, and not, like you just said, if a white person's missing, that's the first person they're going to is knocking on their door and like breaking down, the house and searching everything. And that is quite interesting. So, but yeah, let me know in the chat, guys, what you guys is, criticisms may be for the show so far, things that haven't set well with you, and let us know, and we'll address them on the panel here. So before we get,
I think to add to the consequences, like you guys say, they brush over a lot of things. For example, when last episode, Ruby was shedding her skin in the work elevator, and next scene is just perfectly fine, and no one notices.
How did she even get out of the work elevator? Because the transformation was so wild.
Yeah,
you could see that it took a lot out of her. So it's almost like, was she there for 5 hours? Like,
there's a lot of magical things I just brush over. Like the missing cops is one thing. Lancaster would not let 3 white men disappear in that house without doing anything. It's a whole bunch. The museum, when they violated and broke the museum, like, you don't just break a museum and just
break into a museum.
Nothing happens. Like, we just gloss over it. Granted, they don't really take me out of it, but you just know it's like just minor details kind of just get skipped over.
Well, it was funny to me how, in that particular episode, they got to the elevator and they were like, girl, we could have just walked in your basement and ended up here. Like, they were like, we really drove like 16 hours and truly just could have took the elevator from your house and ended up right here and then taking it back, which is how they got back and how they ended up leaving Hippolyta and, Dee. But I'm still like, that's true. Like, we really drove 16 hours in that car for no reason, because really you could have just pressed the button on your elevator and moved on.
That point that you guys just both made in regards to Ruby's skin, someone had mentioned that in the comments of my review, and I was kind of playing devil's advocate and kind of playing around with them regarding, like, I kind of let that slide just because we are dealing with a sci-fi show. I mean, we got creatures, we got ghosts. So I'm just like, sure. I was like, maybe the potion has like some invisibility where you don't see this person whose skin is clearly off their body and they're nude and they're walking around. So I was just like, maybe that's the case. But that's funny. No, there are some like little, in every show, every movie has like little things convenient things that they write their way out of. Don't really explain certain things, but there's been a lot less of those that I've seen in other shows that might be pretty glaring, but I guess that's testament to the great writing. So we got some super chats in here, which, by the way, super chats are available to all those that want to support the channel or Streamlabs or PayPal, but we have one here addressing the for $14.99. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. That means a lot to me. The best thing you guys can do is just give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, but any donations is greatly appreciated. But they had a question regarding the fam is really loving the show. Representation matters in front and behind the camera. Let's address that for a bit. Again, we talked about it in regards women writing women, black women writing black women, but how important is it to have this type of show in this format with this type of budget on this platform? Starting with Shalon, man, what do you think about the importance of the being represented on screen, man, and behind the camera as well?
Oh, it's totally important because one, representation matters, and two, the stories that they're telling can't be told if you're not experiencing or you have no familiarization with it at all. So certain shows they'd probably tackle, like certain other different demographics could probably tackle the show, but it'd be way safer and doesn't get into the nuances of what's happening and just glossing over certain situations. So it's really refreshing to see that happening, and women writing women understanding response in real time and how they would respond. Like, for example, when they're writing Ruby or Letty, when they're talking to each other and just the subtle way that they interact with one another, all of that matters. And it may not seem like a lot, just the tone or how they look at it. It may not seem like a lot to like anybody who isn't familiar, but if you understand the significance of just why they talk a certain way, why they walk a certain way, why they take certain actions, and just taking historical context and really hammering home, not brushing over like a sundown town, for example, not just like for example, when they were driving the first episode, they passed the billboard that pretty much hinted at sundown, and many other creators will probably just left that as the one thing to talk about it, but they double and triple and quadruple down on this is what it means. This is how life was. It wasn't some people were racist and some were not. Even with the Braithwaites taking them in, like you could see the racism and even how they were treating them in the hospitality, like how they were demeaning to them, even though they were guests per se. And those nuances between interaction really matters. And if you're not of the receiving end, if you're not Black or of the receiving end of those microaggressions, if you will never be able to truly convey those type of messages on screen.
It's well said, man. Well said. What about you, Kay, in regards to this topic at hand, being represented on screen and how important it is to, the landscape of Hollywood?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, Shalon said it well. Like, I mean, obviously representation is important. I think it adds to a more authentic storytelling experience. I will say HBO has done really well recently with giving Black women kind of the space and creative freedom to do a lot of things. I mean, I May Destroy You is a fantastic show.
Oh,
Insecure is great. They just signed a deal with Sally Richardson Whitfield, who, started off as an actress, but more recently has been directing her behind off on some of the biggest TV shows out. And so, I'm excited to see what comes from that as well, in addition to allowing Misha kind of the space to do this as well. So, to Shalon's point, they're just, if you're not on the receiving end of certain microaggressions, it's very hard to convey that on screen. Yeah. And, I will say there is a show on HBO who did well, who does not have a Black showrunner, and that's Watchmen. Watchmen did with Damon Lindelof as a white man, and I was 100% concerned with what he would do with the show as a white man. I think what Damon Lindelof did well was that he hired a great team. He did something that I've never heard of before previously, which was, he actually talked to the Black actors about their personal experiences, asked them about their family experiences. He wanted to drill down into knowing more about them and their families' histories so that he could bring those elements into the show as well. And then he said when he was done with season 1, I'm definitely not doing it again. And if you guys are going to do it again, then you need to have a Black person at the helm if we're going to continue the story. So he understood kind of like, you know, how to navigate those waters. I still think that, you know, obviously like having Misha Green as a Black woman be able to write these Black women characters makes all the difference, especially because I know that she does have some really incredible Black women writing on her staff as well. Like Shannon Houston is one of her writers. She's fantastic. She also, you know, does a Lovecraft Country podcast. That's really,
which is fantastic
as well. But
yeah.
And so, you know, I just think it helps with the storytelling, and then we don't end up in spaces where, you know, Black women go to bed without their head being tied. Like, what is this? You know, like, I just hate seeing that on TV. Honestly, it's like one of my biggest pet peeves, like specifically with The Flash. I'm like, y'all let Iris go to bed. There's nothing on her hair, and it drives me insane every time because I'm like, guys, we just need like that does not happen. Like we just not go to bed and wake up. Like, no. The only person I know who does that is my mother, and I'm constantly yelling at her, like, girl, so I mean, like, truly,
Mama K.
But yes, so I mean, it just allows for these like more authentic relationships on screen, I feel like. And then there are just certain things, like someone mentioned in the comments, like George taking the candy. Exactly. Like we know that is what older Black people do at restaurants. Like they're going to, if nothing else, they're going to take the candy, and you are going to be embarrassed as a younger Black person. Like, well, don't come in here and take all this candy now. Like, you know, they're like, well, I paid for it. So, you know, it's like those things. Those little nuances, but
and I mean, even as go ahead, Shalon, go ahead.
I was gonna say, to add to that, when you have Black creatives in front and behind the camera, it dispels the Hollywood notion that Black things don't sell, because Lovecraft ratings are doing great. And when you have people telling stories that people are looking for, we're actively, as everyone in the chat, all of us here, we're actively looking for film and mediums that we can consume with people like us that are being told by us, because they understand us, so we watch, and then the fan base grows, and you see, if you do it correctly, you reap HBO is reaping its rewards. Like you would think, like, for example, another show I could think of, for example, they had Game of Thrones flagship show, and they've been searching for another show to pretty much do numbers. And I'm not saying Lovecraft is doing Game of Thrones numbers, but it's doing solid numbers, beating out some other shows such as what's that show called, the androids and the robots?
Raised by Wolves.
Westworld. Like
Westworld.
Game of Thrones better than Westworld. Like when you tell stories by us for us, and it's not like the stories are exclusionary. Like any demographic can watch the show, because it's not because it's by Black people, it's anti whatever. And it translates. So you would think Hollywood would see that and be like, if you give, like Jordan Peele, we will come. Black Panther, we will come. If you do things like that, we will come, and it dispels the whole notion of Black things don't sell.
Also, I have to say too, man, there is something about having Black staff behind the camera when framing Black people on camera makes
lighting and everything. Difference.
Like when it comes to lighting, when it comes to makeup, when it comes to, you know, principal photography, when it comes to, I mean, this is slightly off topic, but in the same vein, Insecure kind of gave me one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen on television, and it could not have happened without a Black person doing that, like principal photography. Like it because they understood. And so like with Lovecraft Country, you know, the entire cast, I mean, it's a majority Black cast. You gotta have that. Like, I mean, you gotta have Black hair, Black makeup artists. Like it really does matter. It makes a world of a difference on screen.
Hey, I don't know what else I can add to that, because they said it all. If I were to add anything else, I'm so glad that, again, that we're getting a show like this, that it's doing the numbers that it's doing. And it shows, like Shalon said, that Black can sell, right? And it can touch in any genre, any, you know, topic, Sunday night primetime television. It can sell.
Right.
It says that. And, you know, kudos to, you know, this putting some fantastic young actors on the map. a la, Jonathan Majors, who we just found out last week, is going to be potentially involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Ant-Man as King the Conqueror. So things like that. Journey Smollett, we saw her already. She's been working since she was a little girl, but we saw her in Birds of Prey, and I think this is going to even open the doors more for more opportunities. Wumi Mushaku and everyone else involved in this cast. I think this puts them on the map and also puts Misha Green on the map to cover more of these shows, maybe get involved in Halloween, the Hollywood scene with movies and her own production company like Jordan Peele, and having something like that. So I think this really opens the doors to get more black content creators out there and hear those stories and see those stories be told in a great way. So Dark Energy, we appreciate the super chat and that great conversation that we just had. And we got another stream lab here, or I should say super chat from Give Me Shelter. My favorite 3 film and TV reviewers in one place. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate that. It's a good day. Bravo. Thank you so much. Again, guys, if you want, you don't have to, but Super Chat, Streamlabs, and PayPal is available to support the channel. But like I said, the best thing you could do is not only support the channel, but support these content creators that's on this channel right now. Definitely subscribe to their channels, follow them to their social media accounts, and support them because there's some great people. So thank you guys again for those Super Chats. So as we kind of transition, let me get to the comments here. Make sure we have. I saw someone say something about a black Karen, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah, the magical Karen is the worst. That's a good one there. Yeah, magical Karen, as Shalon was alluding to here. That's so funny. It's so good to see y'all together. Thank you so much, Beth, for joining us. We got Donna in the chat saying hello to everybody. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming by. Again, thumbs up, comment, continue to drop your questions, which, by the way, the next topics that we're going to kind of touch on is what's to come. So please, in the chat, let us know your theories, your questions you have for this wonderful panel, predictions, all this stuff. Start dropping that in the chat right now. So transitioning into a couple of these last topics, and we'll wrap it up here, guys. But just kind of wondering in regards to kind of looking ahead. So let me pull it up here in the meantime. So we got the first 5 episodes, which I guess we talked about our favorite episodes. Has there been an episode you guys haven't liked? I guess I'd say like one that kind of stands out to you, starting with Shalon.
No, but I will say in the hierarchy of the first 5 episodes, I think episode 2 might have been at the bottom of the 5. If you had to rank the 5, like I think for me, episode 2 would be at the bottom. Not that anything was wrong with episode 2, just the other episodes are spectacular. And even a good episode is like, it's good, but if I had to rank them, it'd be episode 2 would be like the weakest of the 5. I'm not saying it's terrible or anything, but all the other episodes, episode 1 great, episode 3 with the house, episode 4 with the Indiana Jones, episode 5 with Ruby, like all of those things like really stood out. I feel like episode 2 kind of took the foot off the gas of episode 1 a bit.
Yeah, I think that,
that's what it is.
No, I totally agree. And I think, like you just said, we came off such an incredible premiere episode. And not that episode 2, and I'm in the same boat. Episode 2 out of the 5 has been probably my least favorite. But I think by the end of the season, we'll realize how important episode 2 was with the introduction of Hannah and the book that she has, as we'll talk about here in a bit, the destruction of that house and the sons of Adam. I think that episode, we'll come back and see that had a lot of seeds that they were trying to plant. But Kay, has there been a particular episode out of the 5 that really hasn't impressed you as much as the other 4?
Yeah, 2 would definitely be my least favorite. I think it's just because it was slower world building than it had previously seen in episode 1. And so I think that for a lot of people, kind of having the brakes pumped so hard after the first episode is a little off-putting. I do think that it was just giving us more historical context and kind of opening up our mind for what was to come. But yeah, I think it was a little bit slower. And then, Fitz died. I call him Fitz.
Scandal.
Died immediately, basically. And so, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, what's next? That's kind of how I walked away from episode 2. So I didn't hate it, but, in the grand scheme, after seeing the first 5, actually really after seeing the first 6, even seeing 6, 2 still remains kind of my least favorite.
Yeah, same here with me, guys. So in regards to what's ahead, so we got the back half. We touched on a lot of stuff in the first half, but as far as just kind of you guys' thoughts again, myself and Kay have seen episode 6, so we won't talk about it. We won't get into spoilers, but just kind of looking ahead, just kind of theorizing, starting with Shalon, from episode 6 through 10. Is there any one of these titles that kind of stands out to you, and maybe some theories and predictions of what the episode can kind of lead to?
With the titles, Jigaboo, that's a funny title. But episode 9, Rewind to 1921. We know the show is going to delve into time travel. In the trailers, we saw that Hippolyta was in ancient gladiatorial attire. And we know when it comes to 1921, that was Tulsa. And we know Montrose, what's Tick's mom's name again?
Dora.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dora and George are from there. So with that being said, we know that they're gonna time travel back then, and that's gonna play a significant part of it. And going into the whole time travel, once you like time travel is something you can't tackle in one episode. So it probably bleed into episode 10 with Full Circle. And earlier, Kay was talking about Christina's motives. We don't really know her motives, but from gathering the fact that she's looking for a time machine, I'm assuming she wants to time travel. And because she is so distraught of her lot in life for being born a woman, even though she's a white woman and she has so much privilege she doesn't know. But I think that she thinks she has a way to succeed where her father and all the other sons of Adam failed by going back. Because remember, as William, she told Tick, just because they don't want you there doesn't mean you don't belong. And remember, in the sons of Adam don't want her there, and they don't want her time travel with them. So if she can go back and time travel and change their bylaws, because remember, even in episode 4, when Montrose is reading the book and he was talking about how, like, for some reason they seem to really hate even women, and it's like, bruh, like they blame her for everything at Eden. They talk about killing her, and even when taking Yahima and taking advantage of her, even Titus taking advantage of Tick's great grandmother. It's like they have a vendetta against women, and I feel like Christina wants to probably change something about that. So I think the last 2 episodes are really going to focus on time travel. Hippolyta trying to save George, which I do think George is coming back, and with Christina time traveling and trying to change the very fabric of biblical times, if you will.
Yeah, man, I think you're onto something with that time travel stuff. We're both fans of that poster on your corner there with Dark. Time travel is definitely something that very complicated. So, but what about you, Kay? Again, I know you saw episode 6, but regarding the rest of the season and these episode titles, is there anyone that kind of makes you intrigued and makes you wonder where we're headed in the second half?
So the Jigga Bobo is going to be about Emmett Till. So I am curious to see what's going to happen with that. To your point, Rewind 1921 will tackle Tulsa. I mean, we do know that, George and Montrose, they talk about what happened in Tulsa frequently. They talk about it often. Montrose seems to also still have nightmares, I feel like, about what happened in Tulsa. So I think that will that'll be a Tulsa heavy episode and we'll tie into it. I still think that there will be a child that Tick will have some sort of heir, just because I do think the show really deals with legacy. And I do think we will see legacy in that regard coming from Tick's bloodline. I have said this numerous times. I do not think Dora is dead. And so I definitely think Tick's mother is still alive. And I don't know how that's going to play out. I actually don't think that George is going to come back. I feel like Hippolyta going to the past to change things will be much bigger than George. And unfortunately, I do think like George will be kind of a casualty. I do feel like Dee is prophetic. I feel like everything that she's done so far in terms of her drawings have actually come to life, and they do have meaning behind them. So I do think in the final episodes, we're going to have Dee play a larger role than even she may realize. But we do know, and I do think we'll start seeing that in episode 8, because she is friends with Emmett Till right now. So we do know that she has a friendship with Emmett. You know, like they're constantly hanging out, and I do think something is going to come back to that. In episode 1, when Tick is on the bus, the very, very, very first scene is quote unquote a dream. I said from the beginning, I don't think it's a dream. I think it is. I think that it was framed that way in that very first scene, but I think it's a memory that Tick has from some sort of time period. So, you know, I think that we will figure out what that means, and
I like that.
we will see kind of how it comes to fruition. To Shalon's point, though, I actually do kind of think that Christina is trying to change the course of history
Adam and Eve.
to make it better for women.
Yeah.
And what she's really fighting up against is, you know, Tick will change the course of history for Black people. So, you know, Christina is, and I don't really want to say even for women, like Christina is trying to change the course of history for herself, I think, you know, like ultimately, she's concerned about the white woman at hand. I don't necessarily think that she's concerned with all women at hand, whereas Tick is really thinking of things from a bigger perspective, whether or not he realizes it yet, because I do think a lot of things between Christina and Tick are really like, Christina's making Tick see things from a different viewpoint. And so whether he's thought about it yet or not, like, you know, there's going to come a time where I feel like he'll start to see the bigger picture is that we need changes for everyone in the Black community. And so he's going to start thinking, I think, way larger scale than Christina could actually, you know, even imagine. But you know, hopefully with some of this time travel things will pay off, and maybe, you know, Emmett Till doesn't happen, Tulsa doesn't happen. You know, maybe what they're trying to do is just rewrite all of history. That is something that we were trying to break down on our last live after show. Like maybe that's what it is. And after talking to Joelle and hearing her points about it, you know, that would make sense that maybe the entire show really is just trying to rewrite history, kind of similar to like, you know, Hollywood, what Ryan Murphy was trying to do. But obviously using horror as kind of the framing for that. So we'll see.
A lot of good stuff there, guys. Let me know your thoughts and let us know your thoughts in the chats. But yeah, as far as like things to look forward to for me, I think, again, I'm a big time travel fanatic and sci-fi. So I'm really intrigued to see, again, going back to our conversation about consequences, if there is some time travel elements, what consequences does that have on potentially the future? I know some people have been theorizing that they assume that maybe Tick goes into the current present timeline somehow, and that might open the door for, you know, a season 2 or whatever the case may be. But there's some good stuff in here that I'm reading too that I'm going to bring up in regards to, someone had mentioned the Tulsa stuff, and maybe Tulsa was the guy that Tick was the guy with the bat that Montrose and Uncle George talked about a couple times. So there's some interesting thing. Yeah, there's some.
It's not actually Jackie Robinson. Like even in that dream sequence, I mean, that he was having, like, maybe it's Tick from the future. I think I've heard that.
That would be a perfect way to tie in the title full circle, because that's a story that he grew up listening to from his dad, and for him to be the causal effect of that story would be amazing.
I can't wait. So before we get into this last topic, again, guys, 66 people in the chat, thumbs up, subscribe to these great content creators, follow them on social media, continue to drop your comments in the chat, and those watching the replay, same thing, comment below. And again, we appreciate you spending the time with us, breaking this all down, this first half of the show. As you all can see, we love this show, and there's a lot of discussions to be had, and that's the testament to a great show. So I just wonder from you all, and maybe we can help each other out, have like a therapy session amongst ourselves in the chat. What unanswered questions do you guys have from this show so far, at least from the first 5 episodes, that you are just like either maybe confused about a certain scene, not knowing what the end goal may be? Starting with Shalon, man, is there any unanswered questions that you would like to post to the panel, into the chat, that still got you kind of scratching your head?
Unanswered question. The unanswered question would have to be, which I think they'll get into in episode 1921, but the relationship between George, Dora, and Montrose. Because the way I figured out since the first episode, I'm assuming that George is Tick's father, but as George's character doesn't seem like the type that would just take his brother's wife. You know what I'm saying? So like, how did that happen? And if George really did know how Montrose's orientation, is he covering for him by letting him go on saying, like maybe blurring the line between parenthood and their relationship? Because in episode 2, when they were all, which is, even though I said episode 2 is like the weakest episode, like Kay said, it could be the foundation for, like, it could be the world building. It could be the thing that laid the groundwork for later episodes, like more information. Like episode 2 is just like info dump that pays out later, right? And we see that they were all dealing with, in their hallucinations, someone that that they loved. You would think that George would conjure up Hippolyta, but he conjured up Dora. So there's a relationship there, and I want to see the dynamic of it. And a theory I saw floating around was that Montrose killed George, and it's like, I don't think so, because he loves his brother. But then again, Montrose is not opposed to killing people to maintain the status quo, if you will. So it's like, I want to see how the relationship blossomed, how everything came out to be the way it is.
Well, then again, we don't know who's using the potion to be in whose skin either.
Exactly, yeah.
So, you know, now that comes into play, I feel like the potion definitely is kind of a mind trick, because you think that you understand certain things, but you don't, now that you know that there is a magical potion that can, like, anything is possible, to be honest. From what we've seen thus far, literally anything is possible. I mean, honestly, like, that could have been Sam, you know, like, it could have been Montrose's body. You know, who did they break out of prison? Was it really Montrose? Like, I mean, you know, there's like a whole thing, you know, so.
Yeah, no, that's some good some stuff to theorize. And also, too, one of my biggest questions too was going back to episode 2, which I think is our least favorite, but I think there's a lot there. I think the scene where we see Christina giving birth to that cow creature hybrid thing, I wonder if there's any influence on seeing those creatures come back in some way, in some manner. But also, I think all the stuff that we got from last episode with the police officer. Some people are saying that he's still experimenting on Black people, and that's where we get that torso, that he's still luring Black people into some facility and taking their body parts and whatnot. So it's really interesting to see what goes on with that. And I guess another question would be, are we assuming that the Dale character and that William have died, that's how they've been able to use their bodies as vessels? Or do we think they're in the basement, as Ruby kept alluding to? What's in the basement? Are they being held captive, held hostage, and they're in the basement now, then they're still alive? I
don't know, because when Letty killed Ardell, or I'm just gonna say killed, because, you know, we saw her hit her in the head, and then she bled out. So I don't think that she was alive from that. But again, magic, right? Like, so body healing, anything is possible if Christina found her. And so that's the only assumption that we have to make on that, is that, okay, Christina found the body and rehabbed her in enough time to bring her back to life. But why would she? Do you know what I mean? Like, what would be the game? What would be the purpose? That, like, you know, my unanswered questions still center around Christina, because her story, quite honestly, is the biggest mystery for me. Like, everything else you could kind of see, you know, like the threads, you know, being pulled together and woven together. But Christina, I genuinely have no idea. Like, girl, what do you want? Like, what is this? And so, you know, to Ruby's point, Christina is always evading the question when it comes to that basement. And why is it the only door that's locked? So I don't know. My assumption is that they are both dead, and you need the bodies to be dead in order to
reanimate,
to use their body,
to take on their form and their shape. That's my theory, but
yeah. And also, too, as you brought up earlier, Kay, I mean, you know, Letty died. So I wonder what that means for her. And, you know, we saw that they brought her back to life. Could she had summoned some spell to bring William back, to bring Dale back, or whatever the case would be? So there is that. And I still think there's something to be said about Letty coming back to life. That there has to be, as we all know with horror films or Pet Sematary, the dead don't die. They don't come back the same. So I wonder if there's some effects from her coming back alive. But
we've already seen some effects, because I think that like in the house, in the sense that, those spirits were communicating with
to her.
her.
Yeah.
They weren't communicating with
That's a
anyone
great
else.
point. Yeah.
And so I think that, it's because she has such a thin line, and there's such a thin veil now for her between life and death, because she's already crossed over and then came back again. I think it's like, that's why those spirits were really targeting Letty. And that's why they were able to really kind of have those, really be beating at her like, girl, you got to get us out of here, honey. We don't want to be trapped in here with this, person who experimented on us and murdered us. We don't need this type of energy. So I think that's why. But I do also think that there have to be some other kind of repercussions that come with that as well. But do y'all think everyone's gonna make it out alive?
Nope.
I don't think so. I don't know who is going to be, whether it is Lydia or Tick in regards to the, ending, but we're not, all of our characters that we see on screen now will not make it to the finale, or let alone make the end of the finale and, and see where things go. So I think there'll be more more deaths to come.
I think that body count's going to be high. I also don't think there's going to be a season 2. So.
Ooh. That we'll leave that to the very end too, in regards to the possibilities of that. So just maybe last topic here, and we'll wrap it up. Again, appreciate you guys spending the time with us tonight and having this great conversation with me. But again, just predictions, theories on the second half. We touched on some of them, but I did dig up some other topics. Like again, does Tick ancestor Hannah have the Book of Names? Is something that I think I hope that we address, with Hannah being there. Other things, Hippolyta, the time travel, the Ori. I think we all assume that she's going to be the one that's going to time travel, as we saw in the trailer with her going back to the, the Egyptian times, and the whole Easter egg of her being the name of Mother Wonder Woman's mom, and Dee's name being Diana, and all that little Easter eggs there, and seeing if they're the heroes of the show. Maybe is George. This is something I've been bringing up. George being dead. Is he really dead? Shalon, Kay. Is he dead? Is he coming back? Is he going to be in a flashback?
He's dead. But
I don't think he's dead, because I thought he was dead until when the Ouija board scene happened. We saw them move their hand to every letter, and then when it went to the camera panned away, and their hands kept moving, and then they panned back, and then they went to Selling Dead. So I'm like, maybe is that are they teasing us? They moved it away so we can't really read exactly what happened, but we could hear them still moving. So it's like,
I mean, I think he's a spirit, but he's still dead. I don't think that he will come back in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna come back to life. I mean, I think we may learn more about him, and if we're time traveling, I definitely think we will see him again from the perspective of, we're going back in the past, so we have to see George there, because he, we're going to find out more about Tick's lineage and what that looks like. So obviously George is going to be in the past, especially if we go back to Tulsa. We know we're going to see past George. But I don't think in the future or in the present, he's going to be alive again.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess again, just kind of last thoughts here from you all regarding any big predictions or any particular theories that you guys would like to see in this second half. Maybe one or two that you would love to kind of see appear in the rest of the show. Starting with Shalon.
I do agree with Kay that I don't think there's going to be a second season, because if everything goes full circle at the end, like the title says, right, where do you go from there? And I'm not a fan of continue a story if you don't have anything if you don't have any story to tell. You'll dilute the first season is great, so if it finishes on a high note, to continue a story where you don't have anything else to say just because it's popular would dilute the overall story as a whole. So I don't think there's going to be a second season. I could be wrong. Maybe they might do something in the last 2 episodes that cause something, but I wouldn't be a fan of that either, because it seems like a nice self-contained one season miniseries, because we need to bring back the miniseries, because sometimes tell your story and get out. If it's a great story, leave on a high note. Don't ruin it for us.
Great point.
Yeah, I do think that, I do think that if there were to be a second season, I think it would be a completely new story. I do not think it would be a continuation of this one. I do think it would be a completely new, isolated storyline from a different time period that tackled various different things. I think it would just be the second chapter you know, or the second book rather in a series that didn't have any kind of tie-in. Like we're not going to see characters. I think we would even have different actors. Like I think it would just be truly kind of like a new concept. But I also don't need that. Like I'm good either way. I kind of feel like if you just have one season of this and you leave it where it is, that's fine. If you do Lovecraft again, but you pick a different time period and we see something new and exciting, like I'm fine with that as well. I'm kind of on the fence. I just personally don't think there'll be a season 2, but however it ends, I do think we're going to have a higher body count than we realize. And I do still think that there's going to be a baby somewhere or a child, you know, that will continue on kind of that lineage. I think we'll kind of end with that. And yeah, I think Dora's alive and we'll see her come back. I just think that they haven't, it's one of those things where they're like, Tick's mom died. But like this story is too well thought out for it to just be mom died. Do you know what I mean? Like they haven't mentioned how. They haven't mentioned when. They haven't mentioned where. They haven't mentioned anything, quite frankly, about her death. It's just she died. And it's like that is so off kilter from like everything else they've done in the show in terms of like background depth and story. I have no choice but to believe that she's alive because y'all are not giving me any information surrounding, you know, Dora's death. So obviously she plays a larger part. And also this is her bloodline. Everything we're dealing with in this story really is from her bloodline. So that's why I feel like, you know, we're going to see her again.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And again, going back to the horror tropes, you don't see a body, they're not dead. So we'll see what Dora's been up to potentially.
I ain't seen Tig go to a grave, which the first thing he did when he got back to Chicago, seeing as he's had this tumultuous relationship with his father, the only person he could depend on was his mother, and he don't even go stop by her grave. Like, I'm like, really?
And the fact that George said Montrose when she died, Montrose went on like a mission to find out more about her history, her family. Like if she was dead, like what would the point of obsessing over her family or where she's from, etc. If there's not more to get into.
I don't know, but I'm like, you're giving me like contradictions here because you're talking about how close they were, but yet he don't even have a photo of her. Like, I mean, like truly, it's like, well, like, okay.
That's a great point. Totally agree. I'm excited to see, and like Shalon was saying, the relationship between that triangle of Montrose, Uncle George, and Dora, and see what's going on there. So yeah, it's great to see Black people smart, making great decisions, well read, multidimensional, looking out for each other. Yeah, we all agree that it's been again representing you know, the Black community has been really well told and really handled beautifully on this show. Let's see here, what else do we have? So we'll go into we'll wrap this up with some questions from the chat. So at what point do you think Ruby will walk away from Chris? Chris Williams? What do you guys think there? And then we'll answer this. Then the second half is it doesn't seem like their interactions are just over yet. I think they're feeling for both sides. So what's you guys' thoughts, Kay, with Christina? What was it? Chris William? I can't remember.
Chris William. I don't know if they will walk away. Like I don't know what that's going to look like. I will say I do believe Ruby will choose Letty in the end. So, you know, how that comes to play, I'm not sure. You know, I think that what Chrisillium thinks is that, you know, if I get Ruby on my side, maybe this will help me because remember, right now, Christina's main goal is to get the Ori, and she thinks the Ori is still in the house, whereas we know Hippolyta has the Ori. But, you know, she's still like, I need to get into that house, but there's a spell on the house and I can't get in. So I assume that's why she's also befriending Ruby, is because she's trying to get into the house to get what she needs. But I don't know what it's going to come down to, but I know that ultimately Ruby will choose family. Like, I think that, you know, there is a lot of strife between the two of them and they have a long way to go. But I think when it comes down to it, she'll choose Letty if there's a choice. I just don't know how that's going to come to fruition. I mean, at the end of the day, Letty always needs Ruby. in some capacity, she always needs her older sister. So I feel like it's going to be one of those scenarios where she will need her sister. And I'm not saying they're not going to fight along the way, but you know, I think that she'll eventually choose Letty.
What about you, Shalon? And I'm gonna be a terrible host. I have to run to the restroom right quick. But Shalon, what's your thoughts on it? And I'll be right back, guys.
I agree. I do think ultimately she's going to choose Letty because Letty's her sister one, and Lovecraft so far has been hammering home family. No matter what happens, it's family. So even if she does develop feelings for Chrysilium, even though that happens and they're both using each other and finding the relationship mutually beneficial, it's going to come at a crossroads where what Christina wants is going to be opposite to what Letty and Tick wants. And at that point, Ruby's going to have to make a choice. And ultimately, I do see her siding with her sister because even though like throughout, like you see the hints of their relationship throughout, like Ruby is always like, you're always asking for handouts, you're always this, you're that. But at the end of the day, she always comes through. Even in the first episode, she says, you know what, whatever. She first says you can't stay with me. Then she says you can stay a few nights, then you gotta go. Like ultimately, she's going to always side with her sister and choose her when it comes to that. Because Christina wants one thing, it's going to be definitely opposed to what they want, and it's going to come to head. And Ruby might play a deciding factor in who wins at the end.
Because now, you know, Ruby does have this knowledge of magic, and she might learn a little bit more, you know, as time goes on. And that knowledge of magic and what it can and cannot do may also aid Letty and Tick moving forward.
Yes.
And sorry about that. I saw Endgame 2 times in the theater and didn't go to the bathroom once. But drinking this happy Batman dates everyone out there too. Drinking this water had me going. But it's interesting you guys bring up that magic element because I thought it was interesting that the show showed us the metamorphosis in reverse in regards to we always saw Ruby coming out of the skin, but we never saw that transformation. Which I wonder how that's going to play into the show because I don't know if you guys remember this scene. Which this might be a plot hole, might be addressed later on in regards to William actually being dead or not, but. When we saw Christina walk into that house and we saw 2 seconds later William walk out of the house, you would think that the transformation would have took a little bit longer for him to make that transformation, number one, clothes and that whole look. So I wonder what it looks like when someone's transforming into that person versus we see them transforming out of that person. I wonder if that's going to play into any things in regarding the magic and things of that nature. But
I also to your point in terms of the metamorphosis, like we saw how, you know, the first one is very messy because your body is not used to it. But, you know, by the time that Ruby chose the metamorphosis in the end, when she is like, I'm on a mission, I want this, it was seamless, you know,
that's
like
that's a great point.
Seamless. And so I feel like, you know, who knows how long Christina has been doing this, to be honest. So, you know, at that point, it could be effortless for her to transform because she just does it so frequently.
True. Great point. Reese says theory about and we talked about this a little bit earlier about him taking the potion, getting back at Ruby, his revenge for Ruby, brushed off, black on black crime in the South Side. Do you guys think that again, Paul, that manager will make any appearances again this season, or if somehow, some way that potion is going to be used to trick someone in some manner?
So he does have the potion. I mean, you know, like he picked it up off of the chair. He's like, girl, you dropped your
perfume. Yeah, the perfume.
So I don't know. I kind of feel like he's done with the story. Like I kind of feel like we've moved on. I feel like he doesn't want that smoke. Like
we already
honestly,
traumatized. I'm traumatized.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he's just like, let me mind my white business, you know, and do what I need to do. So from that regard, I don't think so. But then again, you know, we've spoken a lot about the intentionality of the show and how everything counts. So maybe, but I kind of feel like he's over it. Like he's like, let me get the hell out of here. Like I can't do it.
What about you, Shalon, regarding the manager? Do you think he'll make an appearance again? Or because it would be kind of odd to, like, if you think that's someone's perfume that you're drinking and he probably threw it away. But hey, who knows? Do you think that'll come back up at any point in time?
No, I think he's hospitalized for a while anyway, so I don't.
Learned his lesson.
He might be dead, to be honest, though, because that type of trauma to the body,
True.
you know, like I don't know, maybe he made it, to be honest. So.
Yeah. Great point. Great point. My prediction is the initials is actually Tick's mom's initials. We know her name is Dora, but we don't know what her maiden name is.
So when it said DIE, I think it's what Lady Libra's referring to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially, I don't know. I don't know the last name.
I
don't know the middle name. I mean, like.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a great question there. What do we have here? Jigabobo will be about Emmett Till and I Will Cry. So do you guys think that because again, that took place in 1955. What year? I can't, if you guys remember, what year are we in this show? I know we're in 55. Okay. So you guys think the show will have some dive into that Emmett Till and the tragedy that happened? You think we're going to see that on screen or reenactment of sorts?
I think that if it doesn't deal with the tragedy specifically, it's going to deal with the events leading up to it. Like I feel like, you know, there will be something around Emmett Till. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. He's been featured in 2 episodes so far, and the Ouija board already said his trip is going to not end up well. So I think it's going to, because it would be a wasted opportunity, 1, on the showrunner's part, and 2, you don't just sprinkle that in and do nothing with it. So I think it's gonna happen, and the title Jigabobo is gonna play a part, and maybe they're gonna weave into the story how it's some sort of magic. Because remember, there are lodges all around the country, so maybe that is something to do with it, and they weave it into the story.
Good point.
And you know that, you know, Emmett Till's murder really was the catalyst for the civil rights.
Yeah.
So it spurred, you know, everything that we now know as the civil rights movement, because it just ignited such a fury and a rage, and, you know, like, we need to change. So I think it's going to play a huge part. And maybe it'll play a huge part in how things turn around. You know, like, if this storyline is to be revisionist history, if that's what the direction that it's going in, then that's a really good point to turn things around and make it kind of a revisionist story, I guess, if we're gonna go down that path. Next episode is the episode, you know, with Tick in the war. So you know, he is in South Korea. So what episode is this week? 6?
6, yeah. Meet me in Daegu. Yeah. Yep. And I think we addressed this a little bit earlier, but I don't know if you guys had any more things to add in this potential thing of Tick being the one that times travel and has the baseball bat. I think we kind of talked on that. I don't know if you guys had anything else to add with that. Let's see. I think, let's see, Christina, what did she say here? Or Christine, I think D will be the one to save the day. They mentioned working on a swing a lot. What do you guys think about D? Diana, aka maybe Wonder Woman, saving the day.
I mean, she's been, like Kay said earlier, she's been prophetic almost, and she is the youngest, so it is the start of a new generation. So it could be her setting the stages.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is something in her bloodline from her mother, from Hippolyta. I do that thinks they're revolutionaries. So whatever that means, I do think that she's going to play a larger role. And I do think it is intentional that she is friends with Emmett Till. Like, I do think that there's going to be some overlap. You know, it is not lost on me, but yes, Diana, Wonder Woman, you know, maybe they are descended from the Amazon women. So like, maybe this is it. I don't know. That would be really interesting to play with, I think, in terms of like just how we've been talking about the different genres to pull in. It would be really interesting to bring in some kind of comic book lore as well. So that would be awesome. But yes, Danielle, you know how I feel about this baby mama. I just, you know, Tick has this baby in South Korea is my theory, but you know, I guess it could be Letty now, but because we are always, I think, kind of struggling to figure out what Letty's role is, because you know, she is just his friend, but obviously there's something in their paths that maybe Christina saw. I feel like at this point, Christina has probably seen the past and the future. Maybe there was something, you know, between the two of them that she saw or that she knows is coming. So I still think that, you know, he has a secret baby in South Korea, but, you know, maybe that baby is actually Letty's. I don't know. Definitely, I feel like Tig's gonna have a child at the end of this, and I think that he may die. He may die, and then, you know,
I've been feeling that too.
Yeah.
When it comes to Tig.
Yeah. The tragic ending for our hero. A question whether it is an affair or not. Referring to Dora and George. Yeah. And someone else kind of goes into that about it being an affair or George's true love.
To be honest, I if I'm being completely frank, I actually think that George and Dora were dating initially. I don't think it was Dora and Montrose. So I don't think it's a scenario in that regard. I think that, you know, George and Dora knew very early on, because they've known each other their whole lives, that they had very deep feelings for each other. I think what ended up happening, likely with their families, is, again, because we know his father was very abusive and not at all going to stand for the facts that his son was gay. And I think that he proposed a situation like, all right, like, listen, you know, maybe because Dora knows him well, maybe they get married, maybe they have an arrangement. And I think Montrose actually speaks to them having an arrangement quite frequently. But, you know, Tig doesn't know what that means, because unless you're privy to all the information, you're just a child. So you're not really viewing it within that context or that lens. And so, but he always says, no, your mom and I always had an understanding. We had a lot of love for one another. So I actually think that it was the opposite. Like, I don't think that George just came in and was kind of a homewrecker. I think that they had a relationship before, you know, and it was kind of like, you know, Montrose is not getting married and we need him to do something. So we need to figure this out. Like, I just think that they adjusted, like they kind of made some changes. And I also think what could have potentially happened in that scenario is that George and Dora got pregnant, you know, obviously out of wedlock. And I think it was also one of those things like, all right, somebody gonna have to marry her, and we're gonna need to figure out, you know, like what happens. And since, you know, we know Montrose is, you know, now that we know that Montrose is gay, maybe, you know, they were like, listen, this actually makes the most sense right now. Like, you're having a baby out of wedlock, Montrose is gay. Let's put this together and let's never speak of it type deal. That's kind of what I think happened. But
yeah, well, I can't wait to find out what that arrangement was and all the origins of how that conversation kind of took place. William, Dale are probably in the basement. Yeah, we'll see what's in that basement, because we all know what's
I hope William's not dead. But
yeah.
And Ardell is terrible, so I actually hope she is dead. I mean, like, honestly,
Dale, yeah. Why did Christina reveal herself to Ruby when the William plan seemed to be working?
I don't think she revealed herself, though. I think she didn't time it right.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't time the potion right. I don't think her intention was to reveal herself. I think what happened was she did not time, like, coming up the stairs with the potion and doing everything like she should have. And then she was revealed. So I think that's probably the one time we saw her slip. Like, because most of the time Christina is on it. I don't think she wanted to reveal her true nature to Ruby at all. And mostly because she doesn't even respond to her when Ruby's like, girl, you've been doing him this whole time. And she just is like ignoring her.
Yeah, Christina has a look on her face like, fuck. Like, I slipped up.
Like, I don't think that was intentional. So
Interesting. And we got quite a few. So if Shalom, my guest, and Kay, I know you guys are extremely busy. Do you guys have a hard out anytime? You guys got another like maybe 10 minutes or so to answer some of these questions?
I got another 10.
Yeah, I can do 10.
Okay. All right. So
10, but then I gotta go eat. I'm like,
Yeah,
Same
me
here.
too.
Same here. Hey guys, as you know, so we got 10 minutes. So drop all your important questions, theories in the chat before these two amazing people who gave me their gracious time, and I appreciate it. All 84 people that are in the live stream now. Again, thumbs up, support their content. Their descriptions are in their links are in the description below. So make sure you subscribe to their channels, follow them on Twitter, and all that great stuff. I'm trying to find some good ones. You guys got some really great questions. I think it's going to come out. Yeah, we all kind of are theorizing about the Tick and Uncle George being more than just uncle and nephew. Let's see here. Was this question here? Seamless plug. I did a whole theory video about George and okay, cool. We have to check that out there. Let's see. I want him to do a quantum leap and travel. I'm here for it. That would be pretty cool. I would learn to more about Hannah. So see, I guess kind of thoughts on Hannah, her escape. Any thoughts on that, Kay and Shalon?
When it comes to Hannah, I don't have thoughts on her escape, like immediate thoughts. But when we saw her, I believe it was last episode with the book in her hand, and the fact that she guided Take out the second episode, I feel like she is watching over her bloodline, if you will, because which could go into the reason as to why Dora's missing. It's more so like Hannah is trying to protect her bloodline from the Braithwaites, and that's probably why, because they were opening the portal to Eden, and then that's when she comes in and she shuts shit down. So it's like I feel like she's more of a guardian angel, if you will, for her bloodline.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on Hannah, to be honest. Like, I feel like Tick should pay more attention to these visions, because we've seen him kind of have visions throughout the show of Hannah. I think he should kind of, clue into those and maybe kind of write those down when he wakes up to kind of see what pieces are missing or where she's trying to guide him. I do still think she's dead. I also agree with you in the sense that, like, she's probably just watching over and protecting. I don't know that she has the Book of Names. And actually, now that I think about it, that's actually something that's not entirely clear on the show. Like, they mention the Book of Names, but like ultimately it's just like, okay, like it just feels like something extra that's happening in the show versus like, no, you actually need the Book of Names. Like, so to do A, B, C, or D, like, it's not very clear, I guess, what the Book of Names can actually do and what power it holds and what we're going to do once we get the Book of Names. So, yeah, I guess maybe that's why I'm not also really considering Hannah as much, is because I'm not entirely sure what the Book of Names will provide in the future. But so we'll see. I mean,
any thoughts, Shalon, on the Book of Names and Hannah and her involvement in the second half of the season, man?
Mentioned when Kay said she doesn't like. I started thinking when Kay was talking about the Book of Names. I'm not sure too much what it can tell, but we know your name is your legacy, right? So the show is all about legacy, and the fact that Tick and Montrose, they're called freemen, and being a freeman is you're not a slave. And the fact that we found out last episode 4, we found out that they were never slaves. And the fact that name again with the Braithwaites, and the fact that even though Christina and them are Braithwaites, they're not direct Braithwaites like Tick is. I feel like the Book of Names probably has something to do with your name, your legacy, and your power. Just remember in episode 3, Letty spoke the name of the spirits, and that helped her exorcise Hiram. So I'm not too sure what the book entails, but I do know naming and legacy does play a big part in Lovecraft.
So I will say that someone brought up a theory that Hiram actually, that his spirit wasn't fully excised and that it went into someone else. And we will see Hiram later on, like basically that his spirit escaped. And I was like,
I can see that actually.
Right. Like, and that he will actually be back. And I was like, oh.
That's interesting. Speaking of coming back, and we'll take this question here in regards to Yahima dying so early. Do we think that that's the last of her? Is her presence, because she does have this spell and not being killed? Is she gonna make an appearance back or explain where her body went? Any thoughts on that, guys?
I don't think so, and that goes up to what the issue we are having with Lovecraft. Like there's no consequence. They kind of just do things and then brush over it. Like I would hope she comes back in, but I don't see where they would fit her back in because at this point Montrose had his awakening, and like I think they're off that now. You know what I'm saying? So I think she won't come back, even though that's a missed opportunity. But I do feel like the show does brush over things like that.
What about you, Kay?
I don't know with Yahima. I think I'm still upset that they were killed, but I don't know what that may hold. Again, to your point, nobody did we see it happen? I mean, we saw some bleeding, but we still didn't see the body. We didn't see the aftermath. We don't know what happened. And also, this house is huge, so I'm kind of like, okay, did Montrose take Yahima to the basement? I mean, I just don't know what happened. I literally have no idea what happened. So I'm not entirely sure. I thought because of that spell that Yahima would be protected. So maybe Yahima is being held captive somewhere. I don't know because it's really like, it's hard. And again, I've mentioned several times that actually was not my favorite part of the episode. Like I felt like that portion of the episode was really kind of a downer. And then to see at episode 5 what Montrose does after that. So I am hoping it pays off in a different way. And maybe the different way is that, we see Yahima in the basement, but still alive. But I will say this, something I'm not entirely clear about is the house that Ruby and Chrysilium are in is where in relation to Murder House. Like I'm still, both have secrets in the basement, but where are they? What does that mean? Are they connected? Because we saw how like Murder House is connected to the museum. So like, is there a path between the two? Like what's happening? So
right. Yeah, that's a good thing because it would make sense instead because I don't see Christina driving 16 hours to come to Chicago if she could just probably walk through basement to basement
and just say, here we are,
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm gonna probably stay on for another 10 minutes or so, but my guests have been so gracious giving me 2 hours at a time on a Saturday, beautiful Saturday, at least here in Chicago. That's where I'm from, St. Louis. Thinking of Chicago because of the show, but I'm gonna let my guests call at night, get some food in their systems, watch some good TV shows, cover some great stuff as they do on their own platform. So, but like I said, I'm gonna stay on for another 10 to 15 minutes and answers maybe some questions from the chat, but again, I am so grateful that I was able to have you guys on this channel, interact with Shalon for the first time, and again having Kay for the second time on the stream, and hopefully more to come. But as we kind of have my guests saying goodbye, starting with Shalon, man, where can the people find you? What's next on the channel? What's the next show you plan on watching? Movie, all that good stuff, man. Where are your great content can be found, man?
You guys can follow me on YouTube, the Binge Zone, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the Binge Zone. I also have a podcast, the Magical Negro Podcast, where we go more in depth, breaking down each episode of Lovecraft. The next thing I'm actually working on outside of Lovecraft, I started. I'm working on what's it called? Jesus. Okay, it's I'm working on a video for the movie Baby Boy from the old Tyrese movie. It's a movie. It's a favorite movie of mine, so I'm working on a video on that. Nice. But that's it. Yeah, follow me on all the socials, the Binge Zone, YouTube, the Binge Zone, on Apple and Spotify podcast, the Magical Negro Podcast, and just check me out.
No doubt, man. Yeah, Baby Boy's a classic of mine, and I'll definitely keep an eye on that for that video. And again, Shalon's information is in the link below, guys. KB, where can the people find you, and what's the next thing you got lined up for us?
Yeah, so you can find me at the Lady KB, TheLadyKayb, on Instagram and Twitter. I am on a lot of different shows. So tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern, you can catch me on Fanversation. I have a show. It's called Super Lady Hero Hour. We will be talking about The Boys season 2, episode 5. And then tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, I will be on Pay or Wait's YouTube channel, and we are going to be doing a deep dive into the Lovecraft Country episode 6. I'm also on YouTube through the lens of Lady KB, where I'll be posting stuff a bit more frequently now. And yeah, so the next thing, something that I just watched recently, which I will be having coverage coming out around soon, is Utopia. So Utopia is going to be on Amazon Prime. It is a sci-fi comic book conspiracy theory show from Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl, and it is extraordinary. I actually loved it a lot, and I have coverage coming out next week from that particular show. And then I have coverage that dropped today and will continue to drop over the next coming weeks for a new Netflix show called Emily in Paris, which I love because Paris is actually my favorite city, and it's fantastic. So yeah.
My brother lives in Paris.
Yeah, I love Paris, man. I usually go every year, and obviously I'm not going this year. But it's just, the show is just real chill, really easy to watch. And it's by Darren Star, who did Sex and the City, and he also does Younger. So for me, it's like, one of those shows where I'm like, oh, let me just be free, dive in, drink wine, watch this. So yeah.
You're on mute.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Utopia has been on my watch list for a while. I've had that. I got the season, and I'm really excited to check it out because I love Sharp Objects and a lot of the stuff, Gone Girl, stuff like that. So that's definitely something I'll be looking forward to. So.
Good. I mean,
that's good to hear.
Tell me what you think. I do love it. Well, I have not seen all of it because they did not give the
7 episodes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't get the full season. Still have more to watch, but so far it's fantastic, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, Shalon, KB, again, I'm so thankful for you guys coming on today, sharing your love for Lovecraft Country, and we all look forward to seeing more of your wonderful content on your platforms, and hopefully see you guys back on this channel. Maybe we'll reteam together for the finale and kind of talk about the second half as this group here. So thank you guys again for your time. And again, guys, their links are in the description. So subscribe, follow them, support these content creators, because as you all can see, they are fantastic. So again, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys. It was nice to meet you, Kate. This is fun. We should definitely do it again.
No doubt.
Wonderful to meet you too. Yes. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, guys. So like I said, I'm going to, if you have any other questions for me regarding this show or any other show of that matter, maybe what shows I'm watching, let me know in the chat. I'm going to stay on for another 10, 15 minutes before I make some dinner because I'm quite hungry myself, if I'm being honest. But nonetheless, guys, for all those that stayed in this entire 2 hours, I thank you guys for spending the night with us talking about Lovecraft Country, dropping in some incredible questions, some great comments. It is, it's awesome. So again, if you're watching this now in the live, make sure if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. Again, their links, Shalon and KB, all their links are in the description. So definitely follow them. And also, like I said, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my Lovecraft Country reviews. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm covering as well as this channel. For example, The Boys season 5, or season 2. We got Raised by Wolves. We got Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus. We have what else? HBO has 2 new shows in the Third Day with Jude Law and Luca Guadagnino's show. We Are Who We Are. So there's a lot of TV coverage as well. And also a lot of movies, Antebellum, The Devil All the Time, Enola Holmes, and a lot of great stuff like that. So definitely check out my channel if you guys haven't already. So let's see. Like I said, we got some people still in the chat, 70 people in the chat. So let me go ahead and answer you all's questions and call it a night in about 10 to 15 minutes. So let me see. Where did I leave off at? Let me see. Let me go up and go up. I think, okay, there we go. So yeah, you were all great. Thank you so much. Let's see. Yeah, thanking my guests for coming on. They were awesome, right, guys? They were just fantastic, and I definitely want to have them back on for the finale and maybe some other shows that we can talk about in the future. They're two fantastic content creators. Like I said, I met Kay on Kristen's show a couple weeks ago, the popcorn culture show or pop culture show. I'm sorry, and she was I was such a fan of hers, and ever since then I've been looking at her articles and things like that, and obviously I've been watching her on Sharonda's show on Pray Away. So she's so great, and Shalon, man, I've been a fan of his for a couple months now, watching his reviews for TV shows like Dark and things like that, and I think he's fantastic. So yeah, I'm so glad I was able to get them on tonight. Let's see. Have you guys seen A Dark Quiet Death standalone episode from? No, I haven't. I've watched all the Apple TV Plus shows, and that's one I did not get a chance to. A show I didn't get a chance to check out. But let me know if it's worth checking out. Awesome. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time. See you on Pay Away. Yeah, Sharon, I love Pay Away, man. So definitely check out their live stream they do on Sundays after Lovecraft Country. Hardworking Black people. I love it. Appreciate it. I love the book Gone Girl. I haven't read the book, but the movie, David Fincher is one of my favorite directors of all time. So definitely a big fan there. Is it just me? But Letty did not seem to be the only character not affected by the magic and power. Yeah, I think there's going to be some more to Letty that we find out hopefully sooner rather than later. The symbols on Yahima's body are in language of Adam. Yeah, isn't that the same? And I think you're alluding to it in your question here. The symbol is the same. Yeah, so that's interesting, right? Was that is Yahima somehow her presence gonna affect that police officer? Is it gonna? I don't know. That's something definitely to look into, and I'm really excited to see where they go with that. Have you seen Ratchet? I heard it's good. So funny enough, before I went live today with my awesome guest, I finished Ratchet today, and I actually shot like a 20-minute review, which was a lot of fun. Dive into the spoilers and non-spoilers. So to answer your question, I have seen Ratchet, and after I get done with this, I'm gonna edit that review and have that out tomorrow morning. And I want to edit my episode 6 of Lovecraft Country, because I did see episode 6, and that will be available tomorrow night. So I did see Ratchet, and as far as my thoughts, I guess you got to tune in tomorrow morning to see what's going on there. Love the play, Jay, man. Appreciate you stopping by, my friend. Great platform. Thank you. Great panel, Elliot. Thank you so much. And you had some amazing questions throughout the stream, Alicia. So I appreciate you stopping by. What do we got here? Bye. See you tomorrow after Lovecraft. Yep. I have my review. I already shot it, so it'll be ready first thing at 9 p.m. tomorrow after the episode premieres. Doing the same symbol on the tree grew during that. Oh yeah, it's a great. I gotta revisit that scene, but yeah. Love Pray Away. Yeah, love Sharonda as well as Kay. Their show is fantastic. Always get a fun time watching their streams after the episodes. It's a mid-tier, but there's a standalone episode, and the rest of the series. Yeah, and that was the one. That's the show with my Mac, right, from Sunny in Philadelphia. He's like a computer engineer or gamer or something like that. Yeah, it didn't really. I love Mac from. I can't think of the actor's name, but I love him. But that show just didn't really appeal to me. Christina have the same branding as William. Does Christina have the same branding? I don't know. Have we? I don't know. I think when she came out of her body, I don't know. I didn't see anything on her chest or on her back or anything on her body. So I don't know. If so, Tim, let me know if there was the same brand. I love supporting. I love you all supporting one another. Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what YouTube's about. That's why I do YouTube, to be honest with you all. Not only do I have a great time talking movies and TVs, but it's the connections you make, right? And people all across the world, and the great communication, the great conversations you get into. So yeah, that's what it's 100% all about supporting one another. Does Hannah have magic too? That's a great question. Because yeah, I mean, she might, and that's what I'm really excited to see how Hannah survived and the book that she has, and will she have some communication with Tick? Right now we've seen Tick have that nightmare, maybe some foreshadowing there with the Tick character. So that's definitely something I'm excited to see with Hannah's character. You can tell us a little bit about episode 6. I won't tell anyone. So I mean, I'm not going to spoil episode 6. I won't even get into the plot. I'll just say that it involves, as Kay said, we go to Korea. if you saw the trailer, I guess this, so I won't spoil it, but if you saw the trailer, it alludes to going back to Korea and Tick at in war. And then I'll just say that we learn the relationship between Tick and someone else, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. So, but it's a really interesting episode. I'm really excited to talk about it tomorrow with you all. Do Christina and William remain separated, even sharing the same body? Again, we talked about it in the stream. Is William still alive? Is he in the basement? Maybe. That would be rich to see. And also too, what does Christina share the same memories as William? Is there some type of connection? And maybe that's why we talked about it. Maybe that's the connection between Ruby and not Ruby and Christina, but Ruby and William, because there's still his kind of infatuation with beautiful, strong women, and as they mentioned, his type of women. So I wonder what's the end goal and what we're going to get with that connection of using the same body for sure. Let's see here. Yep. Okay. So yeah, that is the show you're talking about with Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. I think they communicate with Ruby very differently. Yeah, and I'm totally in the same board with you regarding that. If William is, let's say William's dead officially, that his using his body, you still have some of his personality traits, his lust of women, his taste in women, and things like that. Or again, it could be that he is literally still alive, and since she's using his body, it's maybe connecting to him at the same time. So. We will see. Let's see here. And Hannah is saying something to Tick that you can't hear. I wish they could ripley. So that's funny, right? I go in these deep dives with this show, right? I've seen on Reddit, and I'm in a couple different Facebook groups regarding this question here. And I think what I saw from that scene is it's in your blood. It sounded like she was saying it's in your blood. So and the scene we're referring to is the flashback, well, not the flashback, but the dream that Tick has in episode 5 when he sleeps and sees Hannah and he's on fire, which some people are theorizing that that's Titus, that he was in the body of Titus, and that was Titus catching on fire. But then reading her lips, it seems like it says that, at least from what I gather, that it seems like she was mouthing, it's in your blood. So we'll see. We'll see what all that means. What do we have here? Thanks so much for letting a gay farm boy in the chat. This is awesome. Hey, my channel is all about inclusion. My channel is about having everyone of all shapes of life and everything join the channel, join the conversation, and join the community. So I am more than happy that you are happy to be a part of this conversation. And it means so much to me that you took the time to join this conversation. So that's always something I'm a big advocate is having multiple voices and different genders and all that different stuff on this channel. So thank you, I should say. The extra play Ruby is also on Lucifer. I haven't seen Lucifer. I got to check that out. I've heard nothing but great things about it. Wumi Mushaku. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Let's see here. What Jay talking about. I want to know what you think about my theory on Montrose drinking the potion. Is that a far reach? Montrose, and correct me, let me know in the chat, Jay, if Montrose has drank the potion already, or do I see him drinking the potion in the future episodes? But I guess to play on both those questions, I don't know if Montrose, if he is the Montrose that Tick might know him of his father, or if he's someone else, or if he will drink the potion later on to embody someone else. It's a great question, Jay, but let me know to clear up if you're referring to him drinking the potion in the past or drinking the potion in the future episodes. I think Christina likes strong women too. Yeah, I think she does as well. If William is his own entity within Christina, wouldn't that be true for Dale being Ruby? If William, yeah. I'm thinking that's a great point. We didn't see any of I think if we were to make that connection, was Dale the conversations Dale was having with Tamra, if that was her name, and they weren't racist comments. They were more or less Ruby talking to her in a sense of like, you got to be more than the average black woman to have this position. But there were some digs like, your skin's ashy and taking digs at her. I wonder, was that the Dale being racist coming out and talking to Tamitha in that scene, right? And again, playing on the idea that there's some type of remnants of that person's body you're embodying and some of their personalities coming out. So I wonder if that was Dale coming out and speaking, you know, her hatred towards Black people. I wonder if that's maybe something, a possibility. It's in your blood. Wow, good. Yeah, like I said, I watched that scene a couple times, and there's a couple screenshots of people taking that scene, and it looks like to me she's saying that it's in your blood. It's gonna be hell when Letty finds out Christina Ruby middle of magic activities. Yet it will be something very interesting to see how they will react to that news. Excuse me, guys. Everyone is welcome. It's the human way, 100%. It's the only way, as they say in The Mandalorian. This is the way. Really hope to show it again. Wumi Mushaku is also, and yeah, that's what I had mentioned. That's one of the show. First off, I love that show. Season 2 wasn't as strong as season 1, but season 1 was so fantastic. And yeah, I would have loved to have seen her come back for season 2, but she was the police officer on the hunt for those kids. But yeah, she's fantastic. And seeing her in other projects, she's such a great actress. Such a great actress. Let's see. If it's in Titus' blood, it's in Tick's blood. The two spirited women made a reference or something like that. Yeah, I think you're right, Richard. I think you're right, my friend. That's a good guess. Clear that up. Jay referring to the question earlier, he might have drank it. Yeah, so I'm trying to think if he did take that potion. I guess who would he have been impersonating? I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's a great question, Jay. And I mean, that would be a crazy reveal if it was revealed that he was impersonating someone at the bar when Tick was looking for his dad. Maybe that was hell. I mean, follow me here in this rabbit hole. What if when we first met Sammy and he was, in the alley with that guy, what if that was, Montrose and someone else's skin? I don't know what the purpose of that would have been. And plus, yeah, that theory doesn't even make sense because he was kidnapped. So, yeah, that was stupid. I'm trying to think. That's a great question, Jay. I don't know if he would have impersonated someone in the past because he was kidnapped for most of the season before we met him in episode 2. But that's a great question, man. Very great question. Let's see here. I never heard a woman say ashy. A white woman say ashy. I said fully me. Yeah, when she said that was that was definitely something a Black woman would say to someone else, right? I'm sorry if I'm squinting. My computer screen's like flickering for some reason, and it's kind of hard to read the question, so I'm sorry. Like you're wondering to yourself, why is he squinting? He has glasses on, but no, it's because my screen is like literally flickering in and out. So just thought I'd share that information with you. What really happened to Montrose in the tower? What really happened to Montrose? That's a great question. What could have happened to Montrose in the tower when he was captured, right? That's a great question. Yeah. Could he be, yeah, it's a great question. I don't even know, man. Obviously maybe getting intel from him, experimenting on him, trying to, thinking that he has the same blood as Tick. So let's use him. But then they find out that him and Tick aren't related. So he doesn't have the same blood. So that's a great question. Let's see. Do you have something about a review? Where did I see that at? Do you have a review for no, I don't, JB. I heard great things about that, and the cast looks great, but I don't have TNT or AMC. I don't have cable. So I have not seen that show, but I've heard some really good things about it. What is Raised by Wolves about? Which I do. So by the way, quick little plug, shameless plug. I cover that show every week on this show. I do a live stream, live reaction, watch along for Raised by Wolves, but essentially it is a show involving a future in which humanity has been somewhat taken off of Earth, but there is a group of religious people that believe in the prophecy. There's first off, it's Ridley Scott. It's developed by Ridley Scott, and his son Luke Scott directed some episodes. I'm poorly explaining this show, but it involves a group of androids who have been created to protect children and raise these children on this isolated planet to become atheists, so they won't believe in be the fall of mankind, because religious is has a lot of influence in humanity. So this android, they're raising these kids to become atheists, but in doing so, we find out this planet isn't as what it appears to be. There are this religious group that I won't spoil anything, but there's a religious group looking for these androids, and it's just, I'm doing a terrible job. I'm trying not to spoil it, but I would say if you are a fan of sci-fi, if you're a fan of great visual effects and just kind of thought-provoking sci-fi shows about humanity and how people are raised, how androids can be more human than humans themselves, it's something to check out. And it's visually stunning, to be honest, too. Let's see. Did you see? I'm thinking the endings of that movie was good, trippy but good. Yeah, I saw that. I got a early screener for that on Netflix and covered it on this channel. So yeah, once you get a chance, check out my review for Charlie Kaplan's film. I'm thinking of ending things. Jesse Buckley and Jesse Plemons were fantastic, and it's a very you talk about thought provoking. In the span of like 3 weeks, I saw that film. I saw Tenet. And I also saw this film coming out next month called Possessor. And it was just, my head was just all over the place in regards to just that, those thought-provoking questions that were answered or asked in those questions, in those shows, in movies, I'm sorry. How did Montrose get kidnapped in the first place? How did he come? That's a great question. Did Christina take the potion and pretend to be someone else, pretend to be Uncle George, pretend to be Dora, pretend to be Tick? That would be great to find out if he was even kidnapped, right? Or if he was, if he went on his own will. I don't think Montrose escaped though. He was let go. Yeah, that's a great point. Christina might have told him all right, time to go with the plan. What are your thoughts and theories on the guy? That's a great question. So the guy in the closet, right? That was a really weird scene. They had mentioned something about him stealing some money. Which we haven't seen anything about that yet in the show. The guy in the closet, I don't think I've read some theories. Some people think that he is the doctor and he's in that person's body, and that's why we see him stitched up. I'm talking about Professor Einstein or Epstein, who did those experiments on the black people. I'm not sure who that guy is in the closet. I don't think we've met him yet. I don't know the significance of that character. Hopefully we find out. But that was just a weird scene. Again, they were talking about, like I said, money. Like I said, he seemed to be half dead, as Ruby said. He smelled like he was dead. He was stitched up like he was dead. So I'm really curious to know who that guy is as well. Let's see. Cable free since 2010. Cable free since 2016 for me. Streaming. That's all I do is stream. That's all I do. Developed by Ridley Scott. Androids. Follow Mankind religious group. Yeah, definitely check it out. It is 7 episodes in, and it's crazy because it just premiered 2 weeks ago. What they did was they released the first 3 episodes, and then the following week they did 4 or 5, and then this last week this past Thursday they did 5, 6. Which also reminds me, I talked about shows that I review on this channel. Another show that I'm covering is The Boys. So I don't know if we got any Boys fans in here, but episode 5 was crazy. Didn't they say the guy in the closet was dead? I need more. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on with that guy in the closet. Let's see here. We can't believe anything Montrose has done at this point, including lying about being kidnapped. Yeah, right. George said Montrose was obsessed with the ancestors, something with Montrose, something else. Yeah, 100%. There's something, we got that great endearing scene with Montrose coming out and becoming who he wants to be, but there's still some skeletons in his closet, to say the least, and he's definitely hiding some more information. Which, yeah, just said he knows more than he's saying. I think he went through his own benefit, backfired, kidnapped him. Yeah, we'll see. Because again, did he get kidnapped? Did he willingly go with them? What happened when he was held hostage? A lot of questions for Montrose. Raised by Wolves was awesome. Lots of great fun coming out lately. What's on your radar for potentially good movies and series? So what Kate talked about it earlier. There's a new Amazon show that I'm really excited for, Euphoria, that I'm going to be checking out. That's coming out next Friday. I have to check out the screener probably tomorrow. I have the first 4 episodes of Luca Guadagnino's coming of age story, We Are Who We Are, which the first episode was really captivating. I'm really enjoying that. I'm a big Luca Guadagnino fan, so I was really excited for his first TV show. That's on HBO. I recommend that show. Another show on HBO, The Third Day, with Jude Law. Very interesting first episode, and I have the first 6 episodes of that. Very great limited series involving cults and dealing with pain and depression and trauma. So that's a good show. I recommend. What else am I watching? I watched Ratchet. I'm gonna have my review for that coming pretty soon. I watched movie wise. I don't want to play my hand, but I saw Greenland, the new Gerard Butler disaster film, which got delayed, but I got a chance to see that. So I'll be putting out a review for that. I talked about Possessor for all my sci-fi fans, horror sci-fi fans. Brandon Cronenberg directed this film. Christopher Abbott, Andrea, I can't think of her last name right now, but it is, if you guys like sci-fi, you like horror, The Possessor comes out October 9th. I got a chance to check that out a couple weeks ago. Keep an eye out for that film. I'm trying to think, what else am I watching? I have the entire season 2 of The Bay Manor, which is the follow-up to The Haunting on Hill House. I haven't watched that yet. I've had that for like 2 months. I just haven't had a time to sit down. That's like one of my favorite shows ever. It was that first season, so I got to watch that. If you guys haven't seen the first season of The Haunting on Hill House, I highly recommend that show. The Boys is fantastic. Man, I watched so many stuff I can't even process right now. What else am I watching that I recommend? I don't know. Those are a list of stuff that I recommend coming up for you all to check out. I think Montrose was this here. I think they did Montrose. They got him in the sunken place. He had some tea. That's funny. Thinks he's doing a terrible job describing it, but it did a great job. I'm sorry, I thought it was terrible. I'm like, oh, aliens and androids. The boys. Again, if you all don't know, every Friday I do a watch along for that show, like a live reaction. So I watch the entire episode with you all, and I put like a little timer on the screen so we can watch it together. And if you can't watch what I'm watching, which is normally in the mornings, you can watch the replay. But The Boys is so much fun. Homelander and Stormfront. Very fascinating characters. Butcher, everything that we find out with him with episode 5. I don't want to spoil anything for those that haven't seen episode 5 yet, but yeah, The Boys. That's I love The Boys. Love it. Who is this here? Feel free to hit me up after you see episode 1. Would love to hear what you think. Feel free. I'm sorry, which I could definitely hit you up, but which show? I'm sorry, we've been talking about so many shows, I forgot what we were talking about. Let me know what show you're referring to. I think they are using to keep him alive, the day of the Book of the Dead. Yeah. The Boys is crazy. Yes, it is. The Boys is for sure crazy. By the way, Lamplighter is played by Sean Ashmore in The Boys. Yes, I couldn't. Yeah, Jay, I don't know if you watched. I think you were in the live stream. I couldn't think of the actor's name. Yes. And I thought too, Jay, I don't want to spoil episode 5 for those that haven't seen it, but yeah, I'm really intrigued to learn more about Lamplighter and him killing Mallory's grandkids that we found out in season 1. So very exciting stuff. Gotta love The Mandalorian. This is the way. I cannot wait for The Mandalorian. Cannot wait. The Haunting on Bay Manor on Netflix. Yeah, Tim, I have Netflix was gracious enough to give me the early screener for that like last month, but I just haven't had time to sit down and watch it. But I'm beyond excited to see that show because the Haunting on Hill House is one of my favorite shows ever. I grew up on horror, guys. I was watching extremely inappropriate stuff when I was younger in regards to the horror genre. Whether it be Halloween, Friday the 13th, Candyman, Hellraiser at a very young age. So I'm desensitized to horror. But the Haunting on Hill House really freaked me out, especially watching that night. The broke neck lady episode, the jump scare in episode 6. I love that show. But yeah, I'm so excited for episode 2. The reason I've been holding off, to be honest, well, number one, I've been watching so much stuff, but I'm waiting closer to we get to October. It comes out October 9th. So I plan on covering that show a lot on this channel, by the way, because I'm so excited for this new season. But yeah, I need to carve out some time and watch that show. Episode 1 and 6 of were good. Yeah, episode 1 Episode 6 was that the mother episode, the origins, or was that episode 5? I can't remember which episode that was, but yeah, the episode 1 is still one of my favorites for sure. When we find out, sets the stage for the show, and I think episode 5, or it might have been 6, when we found the origins of Mother. I thought that was a great episode. Tell me more about that. Is it maybe Christina doing William in the basement or something else? Iceman, yeah, no, I knew you were talking about. No worries, I know you were talking about, man. Jay with the super chat. Hey, man, didn't even say a comment, just being an awesome person that Jay is. Thank you so much for the super chat. Jay, and if you guys want to support the channel like Jay's doing here, we do have super chats available, streamlabs.com/movie files, and then PayPal. So if you guys want to support not my financial means, but to support the channel to continue to grow, whether that be equipment, whether that be streaming platform, or not streaming, but streaming platforms, like I'm using the free trial of StreamYard, but I eventually want to pay for the full version. So all the donations that you guys graciously give to this channel goes towards this channel and not goes in my pockets to feed me for that day. It goes to the growth of this channel. So if you guys want to support the channel, again, super chats, PayPal, as well as streamlabs.com/movie files. But again, no finances have to be given to this channel. The best thing you could do for this channel is, number one, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my content, but give this video a thumbs up and share this video because it means a lot to me and it helps out the channel. So, but again, Jay, thank you so much, man. You're such an awesome guy, and I'm glad you came across this channel and been supporting it. Really appreciate it, man. Be sure to exactly that's smash that like button. Thank you. What else do we have here? Let's see. DJP, yeah, the boys is dope. Edge of your seat there. Do you go into the comics too? Because I'm serious, but holding on. Yeah, I haven't read the comics, man. I used to read comics when I was younger. I haven't really gotten to comic book reading in a while, but I'm familiar with some of the big reveals, like who Black Noir is in the comics. And all that stuff, but I haven't read the comics. But in regards to diving deep into what I do on these episodes, I really dive deep into the episodes. So definitely join us on Fridays when I do my watch-alongs and recaps. I've got another super chat. Thank you, Ashley. Great panel and Q&A. I hope you can do something like this. Oh yeah, Ashley, trust me. We're right here. I'm gonna not only, hopefully, if schedules line up, I'm gonna not only try to get Shalon and Kay back, but I want to have some other people on this channel as well, as far as getting their thoughts on the season finale, the season as a whole. So mark your calendars now. October, I think 9th is the last episode, so or October 11th. So that following weekend, we'll probably do another one of these Q&A live discussions. So definitely have your calendars marked for that. But thank you so much for the super chat, Ashley. It means a lot. Thank you so much. And let's see here. When I was a kid, I slept on the bed for 2 weeks. Yeah, man, it's some scary stuff. Okay, well, you know what? I think with that being said, unless you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns, super chats, Streamlabs. So let me actually check Streamlabs, see if anyone's has any questions there. But if you guys have any other things for me, man, just let me know, and we can do some final questions if you guys got anything for me. Let me see. Oh, okay, yeah, we did get a couple of Streamlabs. I can't bring it up on the screen. I'm sorry, but I will read it off. This comes from Kim. She says, this is a $5 donation. Thank you so much, Kim. It's interesting to see Atticus, Letty, and Ruby find their individual powers. Also, I believe Montrose killed Uncle George. Ooh, Kim, I love it. So again, and that was a $5 donation through streamlabs.com/movie files. Kim again said it's interesting to see Atticus, Letty, and Ruby find their individual powers. And also, I think that Montrose killed Uncle George. Kim, you're coming in with the hot questions, with the great questions too, or the comment, I should say. Montrose, and I think Kay might have mentioned it, or not Kay, but someone in the chat had maybe mentioned it in regards to Montrose killing Uncle George. That would be tough. I mean, we saw Montrose kill Yahimi. Would he kill his own brother to protect his son? I don't know. That would be pretty dark if that is the case. I hope not, because that would. I mean, first off, if you guys don't know, Uncle George, that still hits me today. I did a video earlier this week, my top 5 moments, and Uncle George's death still kind of shocks me, and I can't believe that character's dead. But that would be crazy. But thank you for the super the stream lab, Kim, and thank you for the awesome comments there. We got another Streamlab that just came through from Cam. He says, shameless plug for episode 5 of Majestic Quest and Amazing Deeply. I'm gonna have to check it out, man, because you've been talking about this show throughout the stream, man. So in depths of the show, making money off of video games. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna check it out, man. Like I said, again, for those that are new to this channel, Apple TV Plus, I cover a lot of their content. Defending Jacob last year with Servant, C, For All Mankind. What else? Dickinson, The Morning Show, The Banker, the movie that came out earlier this year. So I have a lot of coverage. So that one kind of slipped through the cracks. I'll be honest with you, Cam, it didn't really appeal to me, even though I love Mac from Sunny in Philadelphia. The show didn't really seem that funny to my sensibilities, but you've been talking a lot about it, man. I'm gonna have to check out that episode in particular and see what it's all about, my friend. And then let me see, did I miss anything? Yeah, that was the super the StreamYard. Thank you so much, Cam. My screen is like freaking out. I can barely read these. Let me go on YouTube, see if I can read these comments a little bit better, because it is super hard to read. Where we at? The boys. I'm gonna try to like line it up and pull it up on the screen on your end, on you guys' end. It says something about the boys. The boys' comment is even crazier to show. I've heard, man. I got to dive into those comics for sure. JB, what does JB say? I don't believe it will be a big reveal, Black Noir, because the actor actually playing a character. Yeah, for the boys, there's the reveal of Black Noir is really shocking, to say the least. But I don't think the show's gonna go that route. I think the show might actually go the route that they just alluded to, a certain family member of Billy that may be Black Noir. I'm just gonna leave it at that. For those that haven't seen it yet. All right, let me line it up here. This is a great stream. Thanks for answering my questions. Hey, no problem. Thank you for coming tonight and joining the live stream and coming in with these great questions and supporting the channel. So thank you for taking the time. We got my boy Trevor from Film Geeks. What's going on, Trevor? How are you doing tonight, man? He says, what's up, man? Just stopping by. So some love, digging the show for the most part. Excited for episode 6. Yeah, episode 6 is going to be really good, man. In regards to the conversations after the fact, because I'm really excited to see people check out the channel or check out the episode, because it's very, very interesting, to say the least. DJP, thank you for your channel and your efforts. Much appreciated. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you. Yes, there was no way to bring the boys' comic to TV without major changes, characters, backstories. Preacher 2. Yeah, Preacher was a fun show. I didn't finish the final season, but I definitely got to circle back around to that, because I really enjoyed Preacher. Great meeting everyone. Awesome evening. Please, peace and love to all. Same with you, Dawson. Thank you so much for joining tonight, and thank you for being awesome. Let's see. Ashley says, Kim wants me to have a breakdown. I can't handle it. Let's see. I hope Montrose isn't bad. Yeah, him killing Uncle George would be bananas. There's a few folks that think Montrose spit out blood. Hold on, let me bring this up to the screen here for you guys to see Alicia's question. What the heck is it? What she say here? There's a few folks that think Montrose sped the bleeding out process along with Yahimi. Is that what we're talking about? Laura says, I hope Uncle George comes back. You and me both. Jay, Elliot, stay safe. Looking forward to your review of Lovecraft Country. Yeah, tomorrow. And thank you, Jay, for stopping by and the super chats as well, my friend. Tomorrow, 9 p.m. Central Time. I already got the video shot. I haven't edited yet, but tomorrow, 9 p.m., I'll have my episode 6 review lock and loaded for you all to check out and hopefully enjoy. Yes, I believe anything Montrose has done. Agree. Black Noir hint. Elliot, what is this? Let's see. Is that the question? Let's remember Montrose is trash. Where is it at? Yes, I believe. What is it? Just to believe everything Macho has done is questionable for sure. Something about what did I do? Redeem himself. What is this? He didn't redeem himself a bit after episode 5. Yeah, that was an endearing moment, but there's still some questions to be asked about Montrose for sure. Agreed on the Black Noir hint, Elliot. Yeah. If you agree, yeah. If you know what I'm talking about, when we find out that Billy has a family member out there, I think there might be some Black Noirness going on. We'll see. Let's see with this question here. What about Ruby leaving her white lady skin at the store and behind the bar? Is that going to be an issue with people skin and police? Yeah, that's a great. I mean, we talked about that, right, in regards to the the fact that she's shedding blood and she's walking around with with no clothes on. We'll see what the ramifications of that may be. But yeah. Yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna call it a night. I think if you guys don't have any other, we got another one that just popped through. Gotta go. Love the review. Love the community here. I'll catch the rewatch tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. You too. Give me shelter. Thank you so much for stopping by. All right. Well, with that, as they say, ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. Again, to my wonderful guests, Shalon and KB, thank you so much for joining this Lovecraft Country mid-season discussion. Favorite characters, best episodes, favorite moments, theories, predictions. Thank them for being on this channel, and I hope we get them for the season finale. But more importantly, thank you for tuning in tonight. 2 hours and 40-something minutes of just Lovecraft Country, about other TV shows, about talking about the show that we all seem to love and having a good time with. And, we talked about its flaws, but we talked about the importance of what the show means to the Black community and just to pop culture and sci-fi and horror. And it means a lot to me that you all took the time to engage in this conversation, to give some amazing comments, some great questions in the chat. And again, I am beyond humbled for the community that we're building here and the conversations that we continue to have on a week-to-week basis. So thank you for tuning in, guys. And if you haven't already, make sure that you're giving this video a thumbs up. If you're still in the live chat or live stream, making sure you give it a thumbs up. Again, my guests that I had on, their links are in the description, so follow them, support their content because they're amazing people. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to Movie Files, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my TV coverage, movie reviews, live streams, and all the fun things we do over here. And then with those watching on the replay, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I hope you had a good time watching this on the replay. Make sure you do the same thing. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave your comments in the comment below in the comment section. Your thoughts, your theories, your predictions, your favorite moments, your favorite characters, your least favorite episode, your issues with the show. And let's have some discussions in the comments. And then, as far as quick plugs, again, I'm going to be reviewing Ratchet tomorrow morning on Netflix. I'm going to have my episode 6 review available at 9 p.m. Central Time on this channel for episode 6 of Lovecraft Country. In the coming weeks, we have Utopia on Amazon. We have HBO new shows, The Third Day, and We Are Who We Are. We have The Boys. We have Raised by Wolves. I'm trying to think. There's some new movies coming out, Greenland, some other films I saw. So again, what I'm getting at is hit that bell so you don't miss any of those videos. Again, from me to the wonderful guests that I had on, thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. I think we got a couple more things before I go. I can't read them on my screen because it's so blurry. I think it's just people just saying have a good night and stuff like that. Great stream. Thanks. Thank you. Ashley says, thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Ashley. Have a great evening, everybody. You have a great evening as well. Jay, get that 6K. Oh, yeah, buddy. That's what we're going for. We're trying to get the 6K and continue to have this great community continue to grow. Cam says, great stream. Nice night. Thank you, Cam, for stopping by. Alicia saying, you guys have a great night and stay safe. Yes, yes. Don't forget to share. Dawson, yep. Don't forget to share, guys. And thumbs up and subscribe and hit the bell. But with that being said, thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in tonight. Hope you all had a good time. Hope you all stay safe. And we'll see you on the next video.